Hi, everyone.
We are live.
Okie doke. Let me see if I can find us here. I have to refresh my page.
Oh, yeah. Yep, we're live.
Are we?
Yep.
I'm looking for us.
Yep.
Ah, I found us.
Good.
There we are.
Do we have audio? Yep, we do. Ready for music?
Yes, sir. Oops. Hey everybody, thanks for being here. Thanks for checking in with us tonight. We've got a great show for you, so invite your friends. I couldn't invite all of mine, so I hope y'all will help me.
Oh, yeah.
Tell people about our show and spread the word. Especially if you know any people that found out about Standing Rock, went to Standing Rock, had anything to do with the debacle out at Standing Rock. Invite them because they're going to want to hear this. They're definitely going to want to hear what Wes has to say next.
Yeah.
Wes, of course, I am referring to Wes Clark Jr., the son. In my last show, I talked about his dad and what his father had to do out at Standing Rock, what his father had to do with the influence that happened out there. And I'm going to be talking more about those people that have influence. And we're going up the ladder here. Now we're all the way up to, people that are going to the Pentagon and people that are hanging out with the CIA and things like that. So it's going to be a very interesting show today on A Mexican Crossing Lines with your hosts, Cindy Gomez-Schempp.
And Duke Gomez-Schempp.
Here on 88.1 FM KPPPLP Fargo Moorhead, where we are adding local color to your airwaves. You can catch all our past shows online at kpppfm.com. You can also message us, get a hold of us a whole host of many different ways.
Yeah, and thank you for doing that, everybody. One of the ways is a caller message line. It's actually a message line. You just call in, leave a message. It's a recorded voice message up to, I think, 3 minutes. That number is 701-566-0917. Again, that number is 701-566-0917. And Cindy mentioned our website at kpppfm.com. That's where we put all of our podcasts. There's where we put we've been doing these live streams, and we've been uploading them through YouTube. And I discovered the other day we can upload them in high definition. So the past 4 shows are in high definition. We're going to try to do that from now on, as to give you a lot better quality of a replay. Of course, they'll be on Facebook, at 88.1 Fargo Moorhead. That's where they originally get stored, but then we're just plucking them off of there, and we're taking them over, and we're uploading them to YouTube. We just found that when you actually watch it on TV or a large monitor, it's nice to have that higher resolution, and you can also read the stuff we put on the screens, because we do a lot of slides. We do a lot of receipts, and it's really important for you to be able to read those, you can stop and actually read them. And so we're doing that. You can check us out on Facebook at, like I said earlier, 88.1 FM Fargo Moorhead, the People's Press Project, and Mexi-Can. And you can tweet us at media_PPP and email Cindy at kpppfm.com or me, Duke, at kpppfm.com. And when you go to our webpage at kpppfm.com, we have other ways to get hold of us there. You can do the contact me, and you can, that's just a form you fill out and send us a message, and emails, like I said, is another way, but you can do that from the website. And also on the website, we have our different programs, and A Mexican Crossing Line is where these shows go, and we also put them in the archives. So you can click on the archives, and then also one of those buttons is donate, because we're a nonprofit, non-commercial, community-run radio station, low power FM, and the only reason we're on the air is because of the benevolence and contributions of people like you, and from viewers like you. And we've received some small grants, and we've been able to get funding from the community to continue the station. So if you'd like to support us, go to kpppfm.com/donate. Also, we are allowed to do what's called underwriting, where you actually place like what sounds like an ad, but it's not really advertising. It's a way for you to show support, a tax-deductible donation for support, and then you get mentioned on the air in our regular radio programming in the Fargo Moorhead area, which is a community that's, we reach about 220,000 people, and we're the largest metropolitan area between St. Paul, Minneapolis, and Spokane, Washington. So please support us, and thank you for listening, and thank you to all of you who have contributed ideas, information, leads, and just general dialogue. We really appreciate the input.
Somebody asked me on one of my personal pages what the best way of getting a hold of us was, and if you leave us a message, we do listen to them, all of them.
Yeah.
Some of them are just tips and information, and some of them request that we call people back and interview them, and we do that. So leave your message, and we'll get back to you. So tonight's show is the bulk of what I'm going to share with you tonight is a call from June 19, 2017.
Yeah.
I will tell you that there was another call that preceded this one, which was relatively short call. And I can play that at another time. I wanted to pick a bigger clip. But this clip, as you will notice as you are listening, has a lot of drops. So I lose the call like 5 times. And Wes explains to me that one of the reasons why that might be is because he's driving and signal doesn't work very well if you're not close to the internet. So that's a possibility of one of the reasons why. Also, as we've explained, or as you've heard, if someone else calls you on your regular cell phone line, sometimes that makes the call on signal drop.
I see.
And you heard him say that happened to him a number of times on the last call. So I don't know what it was really that caused the call to drop so many times, but it did. And so for you, I have edited out those long sections of trying to reconnect and me cursing at the phone.
Yeah, exactly.
All of that. Also, I want to apologize in advance for the cursing. You know, when in Rome, and while I was talking to Wes, and that's how he talks, I mean, that's how I talked to him. I also want to emphasize that I really believed that he was trying to help Kathleen Bennett, that he was being as honest as he could with me about everything that he knew, and that he was going to continue to expose the people that he was finding out had anything to do with this operation he called a Russian blackmail operation. So as you'll hear in this call from 2017, I was still under the impression that he was possibly the victim of some kind of a persecution, and that his life was in danger. And of course, we were here at home also receiving threats and having people, you know, harass us. So I could believe that kind of thing could be going on. How did you feel at the time that those calls were going on? Am I being accurate and kind of relaying where we were at?
Oh, definitely, because we were receiving threatening phone calls, emails, people at our door, police and law enforcement at our door, and to the point where we were, you know, very, very cautious. And so, you know, for him to be experiencing similar things, it totally made sense to us because we were experiencing those things. It was very real. And, you know, when people were trying to protect information and not let it out, you know, there was a lot of people, a lot of trolls, a lot of people out there trying to get that information and also to stop people. So it didn't make me suspicious at all, you know, because we've been going through the similar things.
I believe we were going through all of those things because of Wes now, but at the time he was making himself one of the victims, one of the targets. That's how he relayed that things were happening to him. And, you know, of course, he was keeping a lot of information from me, like his connections and his dad's connections to Nexus and to Christina Hollenbeck and to the PR behind what happened out at Standing Rock. He didn't reveal to me how he was the one that hired Seven to go out there and do the PR work until very recently.
Yeah.
And not too long after that, when I did the Talk Turkey show where I talked about his meeting, his General Clark's meeting, his father's meeting at Wes Jr.'s house in Los Angeles with Sedef Buyaktaman and her father, Kayalep Buyaktaman. He called me, and I haven't played that interview yet, but I will, to complain. First of all, he wanted to express his shock and horror that Sedef was involved in all of these things, but he was also upset about the implications that my show was making. He felt that it was implying that Wes knew or should have known that he had invited two people that were part of this Turkish Forum, a propaganda publication that has anti-Semitic, racist, anti-indigenous, that is a very pro-Erdogan publication, which was included in the WikiLeaks pertaining to Berat's box, the son-in-law of Recep Erdogan, the Turkish dictator. So if he did not background check that person, that I believe is his own fiduciary responsibility, and that of all of the people that he worked with on this Standing Rock thing with. And she's not the only one with questionable background. Of course, as you well know, they are also the people that hired Bill Runningfisher to kidnap a grandmother and put an innocent woman in jail. And of course, you know Mulaney's questionable background.
Yeah.
And her involvement in this kidnapping and frame-up of an innocent Lakota woman, Kathleen Bennett. So I was misled. I was lied to for a very long time. And when I exposed his connections to these, Turkish propaganda people and the woman that went on to be the CFO or that was handling the money, the millions of dollars raised for the Veterans Stands for Standing Rock, Sadef Buyaktaman, he became very upset. And I have not heard from him again.
Oh, yeah.
And now he's removed his media profile on Facebook, I believe, unless it just means that he blocked me.
Well, he did a different one. He took the one they had, and he did like more of a page that you don't have friends. Either you like or follow. And I have to go online to find the URL to get to it, but then it has recent posts. I mean, he's been posting his blogs on there, and there's been some discussion on that too. But so he's still there, but we've been blocked for his Twitter account and things like that too. So it's been hard to see what his reaction is or what he's saying.
Well, he seems to be pulling a Trump to where when he does blatant things out in the open, says things, as he did in many, many interviews, and I have way more to play, so we're not even done scratching the surface here. But when he doesn't like to be questioned, he goes and hides. He doesn't let anybody in the media question him. People don't hold press conferences anymore, so nobody can ask what's up with Trump. And then you just see some crazy tweet now and again, much like what we're seeing from Wes in his blogs. But before I go into today's crazy clip, I'm going to share with you what you're about to hear so that you can prepare yourself, first of all, to listen for certain things. And this includes the names of many of the people that we've heard before and some new ones that you've never heard of. And I mean, I don't know if they are really relevant to the story, because as you will notice in the phone calls that I have with Wes, they become increasingly about throwing a bunch of misinformation in my direction as much of, one of the tactics that he used is that when I was telling him about the Kathleen Bennett story, anytime I would start talking to him about the Kathleen Bennett story and the witnesses involved, etc., he'd be like, oh, let me tell you about this other thing.
Yeah.
Red Wolf Pope. Hey, oh, let me tell you about this other thing. Right? So it felt like it was partially trying to stop me from talking about something, make me lose my train of thought, and prevent me from asking him questions. Right?
Yep.
But there was another thing that he was doing, which was, just giving me so much information and so many different leads, I guess, that don't necessarily go anywhere. So I think that was part of it too, that he was just trying to misdirect me. Oh, look at this thing over here, so that I would lose my focus on what I was reporting on at the time in this Kathleen Bennett case. But I will say this, you can't hide forever. Look at all of the indictments that we're seeing happening.
Yep, exactly.
Mueller is now circling Roger Stone. And if you don't remember what I told you about the connections with Roger Stone and this Standing Rock case and the Kathleen Bennett case, you need to go back and watch Sticks and Stones. That's one of the shows that you can find on kpppfm.com. All you need to do is go to kpppfm.com, find the search bar, you just scroll down a little bit on the home screen.
Yep.
And then it's got a search bar. You type in Sticks and Stones, and it'll take you right to the show. We'll be sharing the past 4 or 5 shows that I've done on this in the comment section of today's program so that you can go and check out what you've missed recently.
Yep.
But if you want to go back that far, you need to go into the kpppfm.com website and check that out.
Yep.
And I don't know if you've already mentioned this, but we do have a YouTube channel where people can go and listen to our shows now, right?
Yeah, they can. They're actually, like I said earlier, that they're.
Oh, you did. I'm sorry.
Yeah, but I know we're doing them in HD too, so they're actually a lot better quality,
cool.
Even better quality than on Facebook. So you have the opportunity to, stop the program and actually read what's on the screen if we went too fast, or if you want to go back and see a slide or see a picture that we put up there. Has a lot better resolution, and that's good. That's good because we're documenting things and we're putting it out there and we're having it in multiple platforms. YouTube is as long as we can stay there. We may have to move stuff to another site at some point. But and the audio is on there too, except for some shows we haven't put audio on because it's a lot of editing with the swearing and language, and we can't play it on the radio, so I have to go back and go through, and we'll be doing some editing there to give some audio files, and then you can just listen, not have to watch. You can drive in your car, click the audio button, and listen to the whole show on your little trip.
You can. So before I get into what's going to be included in this clip, I just want to tell you, he's all over the place as usual. And I didn't share this with you on our last show, although I did have a still from their wedding to show you that both General Wes Clark and his wife, he'd separated from at this point. The 30-year-old girlfriend was not at the wedding, I don't think. But there's his, I don't know if she's an ex-wife at this point, but he's already been separated from her for a while at this point. Yeah, she is divorced. They're divorced. But there they both are with Wes Clark and his kids and Anna Perry's Clark at their wedding. And I just wanted to share a tiny clip from it because I found it so funny. Maybe this is where they get their dramatic background from because it does sound like a soap opera, all of this stuff. Here's a little clip.
I promise to love you in good times and in bad, when life seems easy and when it seems hard, when our love is simple and when it is an effort. I promise to cherish you and to always hold you in highest regard. These things I give to you today and forever. Like sands through an hourglass, these are the days of our lives.
Sands through the hourglass, so are the days of our lives.
Yeah, that was, you can go find that video online if you want to watch for yourself the whole thing, but I'm not going to play that here. But I did want to share that with you, and I wanted to tell you about some of the people he's going to bring up and some of the things he's going to talk about, some of which is very strange. So first of all, he starts off by talking about Anna Kasparian, and this is something I really want to emphasize that sticks out for me in this show, because again, tonight's show is about DC influence. And these people, General Clark, Wes Clark, Nora Maccabee, Jane Kuger, Anna Kasparian, TYT, all of these people definitely want to and do have influence in DC. They are, they're making these influences directed at former CIA directors, people in the Pentagon. They're trying to get involved in energy policy. And all of that should matter to us. especially with what we saw happen out at Standing Rock, which I now believe was an operation that was partially funded by TYT and through Nexus and who knows what other Russian influenced money that was meant to shut down any kind of protest, because they were the ones that influenced who was the leaders of that encampment, and they were prepared to shut it down when it was convenient for them. That is what I now believe they were really doing. And of course, along the way, they took the opportunity to credentialize themselves and use this, and for the people that took part in it, as a platform to go on into public office and to do their movies and to do all of their other things that they've gone on to do.
Exactly.
So it's interesting to me how much he tries to defend TYT while at the same time throwing TYT under the bus. Because at this point, he has already taken Josh Long and Josh's girlfriend and Kathleen Bennett's son, witnesses in this case. He set up a meeting with Anna Kasparian at TYT in Los Angeles. And she had done nothing with the story. And I felt that many of these media organizations were just doing catch and kill and destroying the credibility of all of the work that we had already done, doing hit jobs. I showed you how many media platforms did hit jobs on the work that we were doing to try to hide their own involvement in this heinous crime that was committed against Kathleen Bennett. And he tells me that Anna Kasparian, she already knows that Ed Higgins is shady AF. She doesn't know that much about this whole thing, or, you know, she's not really going to run with the story. It's interesting that they're having conversations about this at the time that I'm doing this interview with him a year ago. So you're not talking about it. You're not doing anything with it. You're not involved with the people at TYT anymore. Why are y'all talking about it? He then goes on to talk about, we go on to talk about Z Cohen and what she did in the past with Chelsea Lyons and her involvement with this story, and the way that Ernesto Burbank got involved, and they had their little puppet that they used to talk about the Kathleen Bennett case and try to discredit it. Remember, I talked about that on my last show, right? Where I showed you Ernesto Burbank and how he was involved with that guy that Wes Clark mentioned. He met as soon as he got to camp, along with Von Balaj. By the way, Von Balaj, he was watching our last show. So a lot of the people that were involved in this crime are still paying attention to what happened. Any of you want to give up the real facts? Any of you ready to talk for real now and tell the full and God's honest truth about everything that you did to this woman, to this family, and who you were working with and who paid you? I'm ready to talk about it. I think eventually these people will be held to account. He also talks about somebody I haven't investigated yet named Andrew Beckwith. Then he brings up Sean Stone, Oliver Stone's son, the director. He tries to steer me away from that Kuromanga story and how that person online that he thought might be a Russian bot or could possibly even be the Twitter account for Christina Hollenbeck was not actually anything that he thought it was. So he's like, I just got confused. And then he tries to use that moment where he corrects his confusion on this Kuromanga person as a position from which he can say, that's why I really haven't been as open with the media about what happened at Standing Rock, because there's so many different people that have played me, that tricked him, essentially, that he doesn't know which of those things that he was told is real and which was just a sham. Then it takes a weird turn. Again, I have not investigated this yet, but he tells me that Tawani, the woman that he freaked out about when he was talking to me on the phone and ran to the FBI office, allegedly, to report all of this, was connected to the Satanic Church. I'm just telling you, okay? And at this point, I'm going to pause in telling you what's going on in this rest of this clip to tell you about what he specifically pointed me to. And it was a Daily Beast article that had just come out that day on the front page of the Daily Beast, he told me, that talked about the secret Catholic exorcist cult from Brazil, which made a pact with Satan. This is true. And I will share that link in
This one here?
That's the one, honey. Could you read the headline there for me?
This secret Catholic exorcist cult in Brazil is making a deal with the devil.
Yeah, you want to read a little bit of that?
Yeah, let's make it bigger so I can see it.
Whoa.
Whoa. Really big. Oh, it looks a scene from The Exorcist.
It does, right?
The Vatican is looking into a group of exorcists who apparently made a pact with Satan on climate change and the death of Pope Francis.
Okay, so he says he was actually spending time with this woman, with these people, and he started talking to me about the doctor, this dead doctor who speaks through people that are now living, and this is what this guy he was talking about, Plino Correa de Oliveira. And so it says Plinio Correa de Oliveira is almost as spectacular in death.
Is peculiar in
Excuse
death.
me. Can you read?
As he was in life, Dr. Pliano, as he is still known by his devout followers, was a right-wing Catholic figure who founded the ultra-conservative tradition, Family and Property Association, known in Catholic circles as TFP. In the early 1960s, he famously came to Rome to protest the opening of the Second Vatican Council, which sought to modernize the Catholic Church in a changing era. He called such attempts at renewal a point of history as sad as the death of our Lord, and handed out propaganda with similar sentiments. In death, Dr. Plinio is said to be his closest contact with Satan, who supposedly can be channeled by a Brazilian exorcist. He also apparently rules the so-called afterlife to such an extent that his followers are convinced he controls climate change and is working towards the death of Pope Francis, according to Andrew Tornelli, who writes the Vatican Insider blog, as he published a series of articles outlining this saga worthy of a Dan Brown bestseller.
Okay, so now I'm going to just read you an excerpt from this article. We will share the links along with the show and in the comments of this show, so you can go and read this Daily Beast article for yourself if you are so inclined.
Mm-hmm.
But I just wanted you to read, Duke, the background of who this doctor is and what he's supposedly involved with.
Dr. Satan, yes.
This has to do with climate change.
Yeah, controlling the weather.
So, this is an excerpt from that Daily Beast article, and it says, particularly damning for the cult-like group is a series of videos that are on the internet that show exorcisms using practices that are not authorized by the Catholic Church. And these include purported conversations between the exorcists and the devil, which is a no-no in standard exorcism procedures. You're not supposed to talk to the devil.
Don't talk to the devil.
Don't talk to the devil. Oh my God, sometimes after talking to all these people for so long, I feel like I was talking to Satan. Ugh. Anyway, it goes on to say, in parentheticals, yes, exorcisms as such remain a staple of the faith, and our authorized practitioners are not only recognized but recommended by Pope Francis when exorcisms are required. Quote, woe to the exorcist if he loses himself behind curious questions which the ritual expressly forbids, or if he lets himself be led into a discussion which the devil, as he is the master of, with the devil, as he is the master of lies. Tornelli says, quoting the words of the church's most famous exorcist, Father Gabriel Amorth, in one passage from a video seen by the Daily Beast, Diaz asks one of his minions to read from a transcript that was purportedly jotted down by an observer at one of the rogue exorcisms, encompassing what appears to be dialogue between the exorcist and Satan. And you know what? I'm not even going to read any of that to you.
Thank you.
You want to hear from Satan? Go find this article, or maybe get Wes's number from someone else.
Nora Maccabee.
Oh, Duke, you're funny.
Mm-hmm.
You're super funny. Okay, so there's a lot of weird things that come up in this conversation. That was just one of them. He goes on from there to talk about how Red Wolf Pope went to his house, and took him sage and cedar from Paula Looking Horse, Arvel Looking Horse's wife, I guess. And then he tells me, remember that guy that I was telling you about, Red Wolf Pope, who we all know now to be a rapist in multiple states? Yeah, that Red Wolf Pope. The guy that was the fake lawyer on the case of Sarah Jumping Eagle versus Trump that included Kathleen Bennett's son as the first plaintiff, who was later dropped. Yeah, that Red Wolf Pope. That Red Wolf Pope, he told me, was in Hawaii with Ed Higgins and Arvel Looking Horse and Faith Spotted Eagle and Mulaney Stoneman.
Wow.
How did he know all of that? Because he still communicated with all these people. That's how. And he told me that there was going to be a major terrorist attack on June 21st. He thought it would involve Flint, Michigan, or a pipeline. Although there was an attempted, there was a shooting at an airport on that date, which was investigated as a possible terrorist attack, there was no such pipeline incident or something involving Flint, the city of Flint specifically. So he goes on to tell me about a guy named David Django Hahn, who he claims is always posting and tagging him. And this David Django Hahn is someone else I also have not investigated yet. But he talks about he's posting Transformers movies. And then he goes on to tell me about Jen Spalding and, I skipped a spot. He goes on to tell me about how all of these things are connected to the June 21st date, because it's also the date that Naomi Klein is going to be in LA. So he's communicating with Naomi Klein. And again, remember, he told me in one of those calls he was going to put me in touch with her because he wanted me to talk to Naomi Klein right after he had me talk to Desiree Kane. He also told me it coincided with the summer solstice and that it was a day tied to Odin, which incidentally is connected to the Wolves Den. And he explains to me how they were connected to the Flint Wolves Den. And then, of course, he tells me about Jen Spalding and the staging area at Eagle Butte that she was in charge of. And then we changed into the conversation about, because he told me that he felt that something was about to happen where he was going to be discredited as a crazy person.
Oh.
Now he's doing it on his own.
Yeah, that's right.
He's just telling people, I'm crazy. So he doesn't have to take any accountability for all the things he did. But at the time, he was announcing to me that someone was going to say he was crazy. And he intuited that it would be The Intercept, because there was another Intercept article that was about to drop. So he starts off by telling me that he was interviewed by The Intercept. So that's why he thinks that they're going to say that about him. And he believes that they're going to have a negative slant toward him because he knows that they also interviewed Sedef and Chris Dussing and talked to them for 2 hours and only a few minutes with him. So again, he has information about Sedef and her talking to The Intercept, which means they talked about it.
Mm-hmm.
He was in constant conversation with all these people. He then talks to me again about Z Cohen, and I talked to him about Z Cohen because I told him something that I have in writing, which I'm pretty sure I've already showed on my show before, which is that Z Cohen, when I confronted her, when I and Josh Long actually confronted her about her misleading and, very unprofessional reporting, if you can even call it that, on Kathleen Bennett's story, along with Ernesto Burbank using a puppet. She told me that I was, acting like,
What's the big deal?
what's the big deal? And I said, well, I know that there are paramilitary contractors involved, and I'm sure you've heard about how The Intercept has confirmed that as well. And she responded to me by telling me that, of course she knows all about that. Their reporter, one that works both at The Intercept and at TYT, broke that story. And when I asked Wes, he acted like he could for sure tell me that is absolutely not true. And he told me that basically Z Cohen is a pathological liar. And that they're all pathological liars. So he goes back and forth between defending TYT and certain people there within TYT, and then bashing people associated with TYT and calling them crazy frauds or liars. And then he starts talking about how he's possibly being followed by an SUV full of people that look like military contractors. And he plays this game again on the phone with me, and he then starts telling me that, Anna is definitely a good person at TYT, okay? So don't think bad things about her because, and also, that's one of the reasons why he's still not sure at this point, even though he's already talked a bunch of smack about Sadaf, whether or not Sadaf is a bad person, because she did hand over some of the financials, or he claims the financials on the money, on the banking, to him. And I showed you some of those records before. He gave those records to me, and he claimed he got them from Sadaf. So again, he was still involved with the money. He still knew what was going on with the accounts. And he was still talking to Sadaf, which is the most important part. And likely Chris Dussing, and likely Bill Runningfisher, and all the other people too. And so he then goes on to say that, poor Sadaf might be the victim here too. I mean, she could just be like him, just an innocent target of all of this. I don't think she's that innocent.
Me either.
And he doesn't think she's innocent anymore either. In fact, he told me in that last call that he made to me after I did the Talk Turkey show that he hadn't talked to her for a whole year. Hadn't talked to her for a year. And then miraculously during our conversation, he told me, oh, she just texted me right now.
Yep.
So again, I really don't believe that he wasn't in constant contact with these people. I told Wes, I don't know why you're trying to now doubt your previously sincerely held beliefs that Sadaf Buyaktaman and all these other people are setting you up and that she is involved in something nefarious, because I'll tell you how she reacted when I interviewed her about Kathleen Bennett, and then I go on to talk about the things that I knew about at the time, which she was trying to keep close to her vest, which was, for example, the fact that she was at Standing Rock trying to negotiate a settlement on a vehicle, an SUV, a rented SUV that L'Oreal Blackshaw had crashed into a boat on dry land and totaled. Also, she told the witnesses in this case, Josh Long and Ren Brown, that she had paid Bill Runningfisher $15,000.
Yeah.
So I then go on to tell him that in my interview with Sadaf, she tries to, act as if she's very concerned about the situation, and volunteers that and you know that she just ran into Bill Runningfisher at the casino.
Oh, yeah.
And then I also had to tell her that L'Oreal Blackshaw was still trying to raise money and get people's credit cards to pay for rooms at the casino. And she was doing this on Facebook. Shortly after that, she made a message on her Veteran Stand social media page telling people, warning people that of what I told her. So she finally did something to distance herself and the Veterans Stand for Standing Rock from L'Oreal Blackshaw, something which neither Sedef nor West nor Michael A. Wood Jr. ever did, or from Bill Runningfisher up until that point. And they still have not publicly denounced either of these two criminals. You know why? Because they know what would happen.
Yeah.
So, and then you're going to hear some very interesting admissions that are made on this call. I then go on to tell him that, you know, Aubrey Peckham was hanging out with Sedef Buyaktaman. Aubrey Peckham of Activate Now, the woman that was involved in the kidnapping of Lacey Williams, along with Ed Higgins and Mike Fassig. Those people? Yeah, I told him, yeah, she was hanging out with Aubrey Peckham.
Wow.
At camp at the time when I called it to interview her. You know who Aubrey Peckham is, don't you, Wes? You know, I was telling him. And then I told him that Sedef told one of the people that was out there that we had contact Sedef and got me to call Sedef and did that interview that I shared with you. That told me about the payment that she was making on behalf of settling that SUV crash. In addition to that, I told him something that was said to me by Maggie Day. Now that I know Maggie Day was working with Seven McDonald and was doing PR for Wes's Veterans Stand for Standing Rock, I don't much trust anything that she told me. But she did do this whole ploy after I aired that interview with Sedef, where she called me and told me that she and Seven McDonald were in the process of authoring an email, a strongly worded email, telling Sedef Buyaktaman that the Veterans Stand for Standing Rock should ameliorate their liability to this family by taking action and getting this woman out of jail and doing whatever they could to denounce the people involved with the Veterans Stand for Standing Rock, Bill Runningfisher, and L'Oreal Blackshaw for committing this crime, right? And Maggie told me that they sent this email and she was very defensive and how dare you say that we've done anything wrong or we need to do anything. But you'll hear me talking about that on this call. And then I also talk about how Phyllis Young had been issued a $25,000 payment to be the liaison on the Dakota Access Pipeline prior to the camp at Standing Rock ever even happening, and that it was listed in meeting minutes from the tribe. I also go on to talk about Chase Iron Eyes and Sarah Jumping Eagle and Dave Archambault, Dana Yellowfat, all of whom were arrested early on as one of the first things that happened as an action at the camp. And then I talked about how all of those people are connected to LaDonna Brave Bull Allard, Joy Brunn of the Indigenous Environmental Network, Vanessa Red Bull Bolin, and Christina Hollenbeck. And as you know, all of those people, the latter section of that, Vanessa Bolin and Hollenbeck included, were involved in the kidnapping of Mary Trujillo and the jailing of Kathleen Bennett. Directly involved. He then told me that because I told him all of those people then went to Washington, D.C., where I showed you that Wes went.
Yeah.
Because they were all at that, or maybe he was with Gwendolyn Cates in New York.
Oh, okay.
He didn't go to that. But all of the people that were there, including all the Kingfisher people, Christina Hollenbeck, Vanessa Bolin, Paula Antoine, Linda Black Elk, Mulaney Stoneman, Grandma Patricia. The list goes on and on and on, right? Dee Dee Banerjee. Like, all those people went out there to Washington, D.C., and he told me, I was invited too, but I said no. Maybe he was invited and decided to say no because we were already communicating with him at that point.
Yeah.
And he knew what it would look like to us, me in particular, but also the witnesses in this case, to see him partying down with the kidnapper of Kathleen Bennett. I mean, that was just a little bit too far for him. Surprised he didn't go to Hawaii with them too.
Exactly.
I'm surprised Wes didn't go to Hawaii. So then I talked about Dee Dee Banerjee and Mike Fasig and their involvement as well. And he tells me that he's on his way to an event to meet with a group that he met with the day before he left to Standing Rock. That group that he met with out at that Montesino event that we showed you on the show where General Clark spoke, which he failed to mention at this point. And I was so upset. I'm like, so a bunch of phonies are going to be there? I'm thinking like Christina Hollenbach, Manape, who's going to be there?
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, oh, no. This is like the rich people only, he tells me. Like, no, we didn't have no Indians there. He's trying to tell me it's mostly like rich white billionaire people. And he says, he's going to be the poorest person in the room.
Yeah.
I want you to listen for this part because this piece is just gold. He tells me, because I tell him, well, don't believe all of these indigenous leaders out at Standing Rock that were all like, oh, woe is me. I said, many of those people are rich. Many of these people are very wealthy, more so now than they were at the time because of their stolen loot, their ill-gotten gains at Standing Rock. But at the time I told him, they were already wealthy people, and some of them have connections. Some of the people, like Mulaney's dad, even have connections to being Trump supporters and being people that supported the pipeline. And he responds to me by saying, well, so's my dad. Like, he's been trying to get into the oil business for a long time and keeps failing. And I went out to Standing Rock, so what is that? And I said, well, that's a good point. Now that I hear it back, I'm like, wow, if only he had told everyone that his father went to that event at Montesino and his father was involved with Nexus and his father was involved with what happened out at Standing Rock too. If only he had been honest enough to tell me that, it would have made a little bit more sense. I then go on to tell him that TYT, he told me, this is the part that really shocked me. He tells me that TYT cut out 30 minutes of his interview upon returning from Standing Rock to talk about what happened there. And the 30 minutes they cut out pertained specifically to Tiger Swan.
Oh.
And that's when I got really mad because I was like, what? Why was that cut out?
Mm-hmm.
And then he told me that he surmised that the reason why they cut it out was because they were afraid of liability issues. Now, why would that be? Why would they be afraid that they would be sued by Tiger Swan? Huh? Maybe because they knew, and Jank knew, and Anna knew, that if they allowed, and Wes certainly knew, that for them to spread the lies that the crimes they committed at the Veterans Stand for Standing Rock with veterans that went there with Wes's group and Michael A. Wood Jr. and Sadef, and said that Tiger Swan committed those crimes, that Tiger Swan could sue their pants off. That's why they didn't leave that part in there. But he tries, at the time, I thought that they were trying to frame Wes and make him look like a crazy person because there obviously were mercenaries out at Standing Rock.
Yeah.
We knew of Bill Ruddingfisher getting paid to commit this crime, so we knew other people could have also been paid to commit crimes out there and working for mercenaries. But he said he believed that Michael A. Wood Jr., which was always also a contributor at TYT, along with Wes, had probably told them that not to believe Wes, he's crazy, and that's why they also might have taken out those 30 minutes of audio. But in addition to that, you'll hear me tell him about the history of lawsuits on liability And interestingly, we didn't get to discuss this, but the most important recent history case of liability was the Gawker case, where Terry Bollea, otherwise known as Hulk Hogan, who I told you how he's connected to, Roger Stone in the Sticks and Stones show, basically sued Gawker. But it wasn't really Terry Bollea that wanted to sue Gawker or his money that helped to make the suit come true. It was Peter Thiel.
Oh, yeah.
Who's probably now the owner of Gawker. And he did it in a malicious, retaliatory way to get back at them for outing him as gay and saying disparaging things about him in Gawker. So, one of the most recent in history lawsuits like that was a nefarious one that tried to kind of set the precedent on shutting down the First Amendment rights of the press.
Yep, exactly.
And also, incidentally, we talked about what he remembered as one of the only other instances of that, which was when Carol Burnett sued the National Enquirer. And incidentally, he talked about how the National Enquirer is now owned by a Trump supporter. Well, one of those Trump supporters at the National Enquirer, as you know, Mr. Pecker, is now made a deal to talk to Robert Mueller.
That's right. That's right.
So it's going to be very interesting as all of these indictments continue to go down, and the squeeze around this administration and those who helped to commit crimes or worked on operations on behalf of Russia to maintain control in this country over its infrastructure or any other thing. Y'all are going to get caught out. I have a prediction. I predict y'all are going to get caught out. And it's going to be sooner than you think. So stay tuned for all of that. I'm going to go and show you the cut to the clip now. But before we get there, I need to explain a few more things to you about one of the central names that has been brought up about DC influence over and over again by Wes Clark Jr. himself. His good friend, Nora Maccabee, or Maccabee.
Yeah.
He's mispronounced her name, so it's hard to know. Because he's at times tried to pretend like if he says her name wrong, I will believe he doesn't know her that well or isn't that close of friends with her. But then it becomes very clear when you look at their pictures together, when you look at their connections and the connections and the friendships that they share, that Wes is friends with Sean Stone. He's also likely friends with Oliver Stone. He's also friends probably with Roger Stone and all the people at InfoWars and Alex Jones, I'm sure, because he mentions the fact that Nora Maccabee directed him to go to Alex Jones and Roger Stone and likely frequent contributor on that channel, InfoWars, Sean Stone, and tell them the story of what's happened in the Kathleen Bennett case and what's going on with all of these people trying to set him up in this Russian operation. And then they'll get it on the news. He actually says that in this recording. Nora Maccabee directed him to InfoWars. How is she connected to all of that, I wonder? She certainly was the person that influenced him to go out to Standing Rock and take this on, this veteran stand for Standing Rock. And I showed you that they were commiserating on the topic in November, early on, long before they went out to Standing Rock. And he also, I've also in a past show where I believe it was Glitterati or I think it was Glitterati or Hollywood, in which I gave you a lot more details about Nora Maccabee and her background and about her family and who they are. And I'm still going down that rabbit hole, and there's a lot to digest. I will say that, believe it or not, there is some connection between Nora Maccabee's family and the infamous Pizzagate scandal. True. It's true. How much of the details of the stories that are available about the Pizzagate scandal do I trust or believe? About zero. But I will say this. There is undeniable connections between Nora Maccabee's father and the Pizzagate scandal and the pizza place, Comet Ping Pong.
Mm-hmm.
And there's undeniable connections between that neighborhood and this family, as you will hear Nora Maccabee talk about herself. And the family's offices are within a block or so of Comet Ping Pong, and the people associated with Comet Ping Pong are, many of them are close and closely related to the Maccabees. That's just the way it is. It's true. There's one major, article or piece that comes up when you look up Nora Maccabee or Nora Maccabee's family. That again, I wouldn't even click on anything on that page if I was you, but it's called The Great American Sea Change, and they have a whole bunch of different, links on here that again, I wouldn't click on if I was you because I know that there's malware on this page, but I will say that there is a lot of background information. How reliable it is, I don't know. I'm not going to show it to you here because I'm not going to talk about something I haven't vetted yet, but
That's
I will share the fact that there are allegations out there in the world about the Maccabee family and their connection to Pizzagate. So I'm sorry. This is what Wes brought to my doorstep. We're talking about secret Catholic exorcist cults and Pizzagate. And I'm sorry to do that to you, but this is who Wes hangs out with. This is not my friends. These are his friends. And if you've gone on Sean Stone's shows where he's talked to Roger Stone, which you can find on Sticks and Stones, where I talk about this and the connections between Roger Stone and InfoWars and Alex Jones and Sean Stone. And also the connections between Sean Stone and Russian television. And now I'm going to show you the connections between all of these people and TYT. And you can already see there's a connection because of Wes. And of course, Nora Maccabee. So first, I want to have you look at this picture of a guy that I've showed you before in that show I just mentioned where I show all of her Instagram. Well, I didn't show all of them, but some of them that give you some background on who Nora Maccabee is, who she's married to, what kind of influence she has in Washington. I showed you pictures of her and Oliver Stone at the Pentagon. I showed you pictures of her and Oliver Stone going to festivals. I showed you pictures of her and her kids at these different pipeline demonstrations in Washington, D.C. She was there for that thing where Mulaney and all those people were. Nora Maccabee sure as heck was there. Maybe that's the person that invited Wes to go.
Yep.
But I showed you all of her pictures of that. You may recall this one. Here she is with, can you read that, honey?
Barely. Nora Maccabee, you were great for real. You took on the former CIA director and held your own for the counterculture.
Held your own for the counterculture.
Yep.
She is the one saying that. Nora Maccabee is the one that's saying that. And I believe that she is saying that to the other person because the guy in the suit with the tie that looks like a former CIA director is the guy in the middle, not the guy that looks like
he just
got out of bed and doesn't know how to comb his hair. That guy is named Harper Simon. I didn't know that at the time that I showed you this picture. But Harper Simon is somebody that appears on TYT's new network, The Lip. The Lip TV. And here is a clip of an interview he did with Nora Maccabee. Well, there's actually two clips. The full interview is like 30 minutes long, but I just wanted to have you listen to her, in her own words, tell you about her background, her connections to the CIA, and what kinds of things went on in that neighborhood where the Pizzagate scandal happened. Here's that clip.
Hi, I'm Harper Simon. Welcome to another talk show. Today we have with us screenwriter, energy strategist, Enviro Babe, and recently she's taken a job as a marketing consultant for ISIS. Nora Maccabee, thank you for coming on the show. And how did you land this new position?
Oh, ISIS called, and here I am. But
they called you your agent?
Just kidding. No. Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about what you grew up in Washington, D.C. You're a D.C. Enviro babe.
Yeah, so...
no, not really, though. Your father was this very remarkable, fascinating... I didn't even know this about you until I started to research. Your father, Michael Maccabee, is an anthropologist and a psychoanalyst.
Yeah.
And he wrote books with Eric Fromm, and also is a globally recognized expert on leadership, and is a fascinating person. And what was it like growing up in D.C.? I mean, I don't usually ask people about their family, but...
Well, my parents moved to Mexico in 1960 to work with Eric Fromm. And my dad had been asked to work at the White House, and he chose to work with Fromm because he believed that Fromm had an idea about how to create a world where we could create societies that loved life versus loved death. The opposite of ISIS, for example. And he had spent enough time at the White House to believe that they were intent on making war, which they did, and went to Vietnam. So my sisters and I were all born in Mexico. And then when the Vietnam War got worse, my father, or the whole family, we went back to Washington, where he was at the Institute for Policy Studies and actively working against the war. And so, we had the Pentagon Papers at our house.
And you grew up in this heady environment.
So I grew up in D.C., which in a neighborhood that was pretty much 80% CIA operatives. J. Edgar Hoover lived up the road with his boyfriend. We had a Czechoslovakian safe house on the corner where these guys would mow the lawn at midnight with black socks to their knees.
And how aware were you of all sorts of intrigue and all these sort of interesting, mysterious goings on?
Well, I just remember as a kid...
Did your parents talk about it openly in the house, or...?
Well, we used to have these large gatherings of these Institute for Policy Study people, but my neighbors, all the kids were skateboarders, and our street was a skateboard street because it was a really good hill. And most of their parents were literally operatives. And I thought I had remembered it sort of extremely, but I just saw an old friend of mine, and he was like, no. Our dad taught us how to make guns and make Molotov cocktails, and they would blow them up in embassy driveways for fun. And it was totally bizarre, but normal. It was normal.
Totally bizarre, but normal.
Oh, yeah.
It was normal.
Normal for you, maybe.
Did you grow up learning how to make guns and lighting off Molotov cocktails
in
embassy driveways?
Nope, that wasn't allowed in our neighborhood.
I mean, I'm just wondering, what typical American upbringing is that from?
The rich and famous.
And this Eric Fromm, you know a little bit about him, don't you?
Well, I just triggered when I heard that interview the other night when we were watching this. I thought, Eric Fromm, I was in a college class back in the 70s, late 70s. And one of my instructors had us read Eric Fromm's The Art of Loving. So it was like, oh, that was that dude that talked about love and the environment and society. And this interview, if you watch the whole thing, she'll talk about that and some sort of institute for loving, leadership, or they incorporated it into a leadership style. And I haven't went down that road yet. That was just right before I went into Pizzagate.
Oh God, yeah. And then we got to Pizzagate, and I was like, oh dear God, why are we at Pizzagate? Well, because Nora Maccabee's family. Nora Maccabee was born in Mexico, which makes her Mexican.
It does.
And her sisters. And they're also related to the Folgers family in some weird way. And yeah, I mean, did you know that one of the Folger sisters was murdered by the Manson family?
Oh.
This
Yikes.
just got weird, huh?
Yep, very much.
Okay. So anyway, these people definitely have a lot of power and influence. As you heard her say, she lived up the street from J. Edgar Hoover.
Mm-hmm.
And again, this is all in that same neighborhood. Now, just to show you, just to prove, this is definitely a TYT network, here's Jank announcing the channel himself, the Lip Service channel.
We've recently signed a new channel onto the TYT network. You know why? Because we're too strong. It's the Lip TV. I think you guys are really going to like it. What do they have? Hello. They go in-depth on music, documentaries, politics, current events, and much more. Who do they hide on? How do you like Danny Trejo from Machete? How do you like Bob Odenkirk from Breaking Bad, along with about 100 other things? I love that guy. I think he's hilarious, actually. And if you like that guy, wait till you get a load of the guy they interviewed. This amazing talk show host named Cenk Uygur. Wow, siktirla. I'm not saying anything. I'm just saying you might want to check out that interview. So what are you waiting for? Check him out and subscribe right away.
The Lip.
The Lip.
The Lip talk show, right?
Yep.
So guess who's on the Lip? I guess this Harper Simon
Harper Simon.
is on the Lip and does the talk show. What did you think of his ability to do the talk show?
Well, he talks like he's like, who's that? Pauly Shore. He's like a Pauly Shore like dude. His hair's all messed up. I can just see him going around parties and just snorting up cocaine as he walks around at different tables. Right. And what I thought was funny is that we saw him in that picture, and then we see him on his show. He's got the same look, so that's his look, muff it up and stumble around, so it's like, how's this guy got a talk show, in this big studio?
Well,
it's
what
like,
did you? I mean, I thought that whole Enviro Babe thing was so gross.
Oh yeah, and he's like, and they call her, and no, he didn't seem serious at all. And I don't know, she was like chumming, she's like, oh well, blah blah blah. And the way she's talking, I kind of listen to the way she's talking. It's like, wow, she's this director, movie maker, environmental activist leader and all this stuff, and she's just like chilling with this dude, and it's like totally different.
Their whole demeanor, hers toward him and his toward her, seems way beyond, chummy.
Yeah.
It's like super unprofessional in such a way that it's like, a little bit, it's untoward.
Yeah.
The way that they were chumming.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, I don't know. Maybe that was just me, but that's my opinion.
Yep.
That's how I feel about what I just saw.
Yep. Exactly.
I watched the whole thing and I'm like, why the hell is he? And why is she allowed? He actually goes, "Hey, what? You just got a job with ISIS?" Like, who makes a joke
like that?
About somebody that works in foreign policy or purports themselves to, or works closely with the CIA or purports themselves to? And I say purports because she may very well, her dad definitely was in the CIA. And she may very well have been raised in a neighborhood where all the people were CIA, but she is not one of those people. She's not the CIA. So, to me, what I'm trying to say is her vibe has a little bit of Wes's vibe, like borrowing off of
appropriators.
He's definitely borrowing his dad's name to do all this stuff. He's buying off of his father's credibility, what little there is left of it, to go and do the things that he has been doing, whether it's at Standing Rock and elsewhere, at these, environmental summit things that they've been doing along with Nexus. And Sean Stone is another one of those influencers, and they lend each other. Sean Stone, what would you know about that dude unless you knew that his dad, Oliver Stone, made movies?
I wouldn't know anything about him. And then we started doing this research, and it led us to InfoWars and Sean Stone and Roger Stone and Sean Stone not being related, but talking to each other on programs. It's like, that's Sean Stone. And then he's doing these crazy movies, and he comes from a family that's all about conspiracy theories, with JFK is kind of their root, and then when I watched the trailer of that movie, it's like, this guy is doing this as a movie.
Yeah, the machete guy,
Yeah.
Daniel. They had him in the
Oh,
movie.
yeah, exactly.
And he has all sorts of weird theories about aliens, and they have this whole like new agey religion, medical. I don't even know what it is. It's a bunch of hooey, if you ask me.
Mm-hmm.
But what I will tell you is that Sean Stone also interviewed Nora Maccabee on the Buzzsaw, which the Buzzsaw is another channel that belongs to Sean Stone, which is incidentally on the Lip.
I see.
How? I don't know, but it's there. And Sean Stone is also on Russian television. And Sean Stone is also on InfoWars. Does he have a show on InfoWars? No. Is he a frequent contributor in InfoWars? Yes. So, here is a piece of that interview. It's not the part where they talk about aliens, because he actually has a conversation with Nora Maccabee about how, if the government and the media allowed the confirmation of UFOs to be, recognized, then everyone would immediately stop using oil. Don't you know why? Can't you just immediately guess why?
They need all the gasoline for their ships.
No. Obviously, UFOs don't use gasoline.
Yeah.
They use some other kind of power.
That's right.
Don't you see?
Psychic power.
Whatever energy that is, it's not oil. And you know what those spaceships can do? They don't fly like regular aircrafts fly on Earth.
No.
They fly up, down, sideways, all around.
Interstellar.
So, since they can do all this stuff, if we just recognize in the world, in the media, that UFOs are real, then we could start talking about what's powering them and use that instead of oil. Duh.
Yeah. I think it's dilithium crystals is what they run on.
They had a serious conversation about that on this show, which I'm not going to show you because I have done enough to my audience tonight, even bringing up Pizzagate or talking about this satanic cult in Brazil. I'm not that unkind, but I will show you a little clip so that you can see for yourself that it's true and what they talked about.
Hi, this is Sean Stone. With the U.S. on the verge of yet another war in the Middle East, we have to ask ourselves, does oil play a factor in this as well? Stick around. This is Buzzsaw. Joining me today is Nora Maccabee. You may or may not have seen her on live TV, as she's a big proponent of clean energy solutions. And she was quite active with Donald Rumsfeld in the previous Bush administration in trying to advocate more clean energy solutions like solar, nuclear, wind, and other forms of energy beyond the current oil and natural gas regime. Currently, she's a member of many NGOs, including the Energy Consensus, and she's joining us today to discuss the issue of oil and gas and natural gas as part of the Syria situation crisis, the nuclear radiation leaking out from Fukushima, and the way forward for us as we evolve beyond oil. So, joining me today is Nora. Nora, pleasure to have you on, and good to see you.
Good to see you.
Let's start with Syria, because obviously, we're being told that we're on the brink of launching missiles at Syria, against the regime in Syria. Meanwhile, the Chinese have now sent troops and their fleet in opposition to the U.S. The Russians have been vociferously opposing the U.S. action there. And if things heat up, as we know, it could escalate into World War III. I mean, you could have missiles being launched at Saudi Arabia. The Iranians apparently wanted to target the U.S. in Iraq. The Chinese, now a major player in the world, opposing the U.S. involvement. Do you see this? I mean, is Syria, to you, part of a push towards securing natural gas lines and oil in the region, or is there another agenda going on?
Well, there are a couple agendas, and the U.S. is getting drawn into a trap, which is extremely dangerous. And Islam has not had a reformation, and they're kind of goading for it. There is the Nabucco gas pipeline, which situation initiated two years ago, which precipitated a lot of the problems in the region. And you have the Qataris and the Saudis and the United States set up against Iran, Syria, and Russia, with the Chinese kind of going along with the Russians. Now, the Chinese are being set up by the Russians. So it's not really, they're being played if they're going to go along that way. But at this point, we have a larger problem, which is that our leadership is paralyzed. I feel like the National Security Council is literally paralyzed. People don't know what to do. If we support the Syrian rebels, how many rebel groups are there even?
Many, as we know.
I think I sent the link yesterday with the Christian church, which has an orphanage. The people there still speak Aramaic. They're being attacked by the Iraqi Islam group, whoever they are, and the Syrian army is protecting the Christians. So are we going in there whose side are we on? It's really, really crazy. I think earlier we could have had a strategic, decisive move on a side. I still think that we can do that, and I think if there's anyone who's got the courage to do that, it should be done. It's on the table. But again, nobody here in Washington knows what to do. And there's a feeling of chaos and confusion that's just horrible. I mean, really.
So, there is a conversation about energy and what kind of energy they should use. And it's interesting to me the connections that there are between this Sean Stone, this Nora Maccabee, which is, the daughter of the lawyer that I told you was involved in this Pizzagate scandal. He's a lawyer. And then, of course, Oliver Stone, the director, his son, because she's Nora Maccabee's friends with the director, right?
Yeah.
And she's also friends with this lip service guy. What's his name? Oh, I forgot his name, honey. What's his name? There you go.
With the Harper Simon?
Harper Simon. So I just sent you that thing I wanted you to use.
Yep, I don't see it yet.
It should be there now. It just finally came through. I know it took forever. Did you get it?
I don't know yet.
No?
Yep.
Yay. So I wanted to show you another connection.
There more than one picture?
Nope, that's it.
Okay.
I wanted to tell you that on my show that we played another clip on where Wes Clark talks about who got him to go out to Standing Rock. He tells me very specifically in that very short clip that it was Oliver Stone's son, Sean Stone, Nora Maccabee, and a guy that connected him to Phyllis Young named James Martinez. As you know, James Martinez was recently the person that I mentioned to you was the only one to talk to this Mitchell Marcus guy who got his eye shot out, who recently resurfaced asking for assistance, saying the WPLC had left him in the lurch, and saying that with all of these new details that he was shot by the National Guard, now not the Morton County Police anymore, which was his original story. So he changed that, and he added to it that he was kidnapped by the hospital. That guy, James Martinez, was also recently with Dee Dee Banerjee and Dean Dedman in Bismarck, where they all met up with Mike Fassig. That James Martinez was also interviewed on The Lip by Buzzsaw Sean Stone. Here's a picture of that. You can see he interviewed James Martinez about cold fusion and energy revolution. Wonder if they're doing that with MIT with this new thing that they're working on that we just showed you.
I think they are, actually.
They probably are. They're probably working with James Martinez.
Yes, they are.
So let me tell you that this was all orchestrated from the beginning. It wasn't organic. These people already had their spots laid before them. Okay?
See, James Martinez Russell means cold fusion, MIT
and
solve,
and the
vets.
veterans. James Martinez posted that?
No, it's a YouTube
Oh, that
video.
says in the comments of the YouTube video, and then it says Mr. Martinez has been interviewed on local, national, and international radio networks and Dutch TV. His first on-camera interviews were done by Regina Meredith of Gaiam TV, and later
Galam.
appeared on Buzzsaw,
Yep.
hosted by Sean Stone. So there's all of those things I have explained to you before you listen to this crazy clip, because it's all over the place and now it's all organized in your brain. Before we go in, here is that 1 hour and change, an hour and a half clip.
Or 13 minutes.
Oh, it's only 13 minutes? Okay,
Yep.
cool. Here it is. Hello?
Cindy, how are you?
Freaking out. Did you were talking on my phone? You were saying hello? Hello? Cindy?
Yeah, my headphones weren't working.
No, the same thing just happened to me with Josh. And by the way, the phone was still ringing. I record everything so I can share the recording of it so you can listen to it later and you can hear for yourself how you're talking over a ringtone while the phone is still saying that it's calling you. And you've already answered it.
Weird.
And it happened to me earlier when I was trying to talk to Josh as well.
Bizarre.
I know. I'm telling you, it's really weird. And I was just put into a conversation.
I don't know what the fuck is going on.
I was thrown into a conversation with this Z, the producer for Jordan Sheridan at TYT, and Josh Long, and Jordan Sheridan. And they're pissed.
Yeah? Why?
Well, because you're playing stupid. I apologize. I'm trying to eat food. I haven't eaten anything all day. I feel like I'm going to die.
That's okay. I'm eating a banana.
Okay.
I'm right there with you.
So over the weekend, they were trying to get Kathleen out on bail without letting the attorney know.
Wow.
I swear to you, I cannot prove this now, but I think they were literally trying to make her disappear. They had told her, somebody had given her, that Rachel that was texting Russell, she wrote Kathleen a letter and never mentioned, Kathleen told us this today on the phone. She wrote Kathleen a letter and she never mentioned that she was with the legal team or with anybody that was going to try to bail her out. Just trying to, on the down low, make friends with her. And that number, she got that number to call Russell from one of the people that Kathleen wrote a letter to from jail. Who the fuck does that?
Josh told me all that.
Yeah, but who the fuck does that? You know?
Sneaky motherfuckers.
And I contacted her, and I fucking called these people on the phone and recorded it and ripped them a new asshole. I'm like, what are you guys doing? And why are you not contacting the attorney? Why are you calling this person out of the blue? I said, what are your names? They wouldn't even give me their last names. They were so fucking shady. And I called them out.
I don't get why they just can't fucking let her go. She doesn't know anything.
Yeah, she
Let
does.
her go.
Here's why they can't let her go, Wes. Somebody just asked me this question like 10 minutes before, and I said, this is why they can't let her go. Because if Kathleen Bennett is guilty of something, anything, then Morton County and all of these fucking people that were involved in putting this woman in jail and nearly killing her mother, they can go on doing all the things that they do, being leaders of the movement, activists, people working their way up the ladder of the press, in the press world, or actors, whatever the fuck they do. They can go on doing that shit and call themselves heroes. But if Kathleen Bennett, as I said, is completely innocent of all of these charges, then they are all participants in a heinous fucking crime against this woman and her mom. Can you still hear me?
Cindy?
Yeah?
That was my wife calling.
Oh, shit. You have to get off the
Don't
phone?
worry about it. No, I spoke to her like 10 minutes ago.
Okay, cool. That's why
No, I gotta tell you, I have no idea what the fuck is going on.
Has there been any contact with you from Anna?
Kasparian?
Yeah, since you guys met with her?
I talked to her yesterday about all that freaky shit we were talking about
Yes.
the day before, and she's like freaked out about it all.
Yeah, well, it is pretty freaky.
Because she said, I know Ed Higgins is shady as fuck. That's what she said.
She knows Ed Higgins is what?
Shady as fuck.
Yeah, and you know what?
Those are her exact words.
This Z person, producer for Jordan Sheridan, is trying to say that their network has nothing to do with Ed Higgins. They're nothing like him, and they don't have anything to do with him. And I'm like, really? Because Jordan he's tapping that ass. And so did Ed. And you know what else? That bitch was on Activate Now. Chelsea Lyons, your lead reporter, was on Activate Now. So don't fucking tell me that you don't have anything to do with Ed. And a full week ago, when I started talking about Activate Now and Ed Higgins and their shady behavior over there, who showed up on my show was a whistleblower. And the whistleblower said, her name is Missy Waddell, she said,
I watched it.
yeah, well, Missy said, I'm investigating Ed Higgins, and Chelsea Lyons gave it a like on the comment section. So a full week ago, as soon as Missy Waddell came forward as a whistleblower, Chelsea Lyons was watching the show and was aware of what we were talking about in relation to Kathleen Bennett's case. And today, the bitch was doing a live stream with a fucking puppet. I shit you not. A literal puppet, like
What?
Kathleen Bennett.
What does that mean?
She's being disrespectful. She's trying to muddy the waters. She's asking all these rhetorical questions.
You got stepped on a lot.
She's putting out misinformation, Wes. She's putting out misinformation, half-truths, rumors, innuendo, and rhetorical questions. Who is Kathleen Bennett? We just heard from someone that her mother is missing. Nobody knows where her mother is. You know, all this weird shit. And the bitch has been watching my shows. She's lying. She's fucking lying.
Yeah, they're liars.
And then Z is trying to say,
that thing we were talking about the other day, the Kuramanga
yeah,
or Kurakova thing.
yeah,
I don't think that's real.
okay,
I don't think that's real because I actually confronted that person
recently,
like on Twitter this morning.
okay,
And she's like, no, I'm not a fucking Russian agent. I give like university lectures and everything else, and I don't live in America, so it really doesn't matter.
okay, cool,
But that means this friend of mine, Nora McCovey, who's the person who originally supposedly got me involved in Standing Rock, which is also friends with Sean Stone, she's the person who directed me to this person who told me it was Kuramanga. And this, I think you have it on tape, someone named Andrew Beckwith.
huh? It's not ringing a bell.
No, but we talked about it the other day.
Okay,
But I'm just like, what the fuck? Why am I being steered towards this misinformation that it's Russia when it may not be Russia?
Well, that's why, you know, we have to check shit. We have to check everything that
That's why I don't post anything online. I don't make statements about any stuff because honestly, I don't know how I'm being played.
Yeah, I know. That's why you have to check several different places. You know, when you told me that you knew for a fact, because you had identified several operatives out there that were PMCs, I had already talked to one in Bill Running Fisher.
Yeah.
And it was a second confirmation, a third confirmation of something I already had inkling of. I already knew was probably going on. And I had people doing background checks on him, and none of his shit was straight, you know. His web domain he'd gotten his web domain for his website literally 1 month, or you know, sometime in November, I think November 30th, if I remember correctly. It was like toward the end of the month, right before he went to Standing Rock, according to his own telling of it, because he's the one that told me when he went to Standing Rock.
Uh-huh.
So, and then the location for his Hayes, Montana address for his business,
Uh-huh.
there is no such place at that address.
No way.
Yeah. And then he has another.
Whoa.
He has another business address located. He says there's 2 offices, one in Colorado and one in Hayes, Montana. The Hayes, Montana address does not exist. It's not a real place. And the other address, there's a building there, but nobody is leasing any property to either a Bill Running Fisher or any of his other aliases or any business by his name.
Whoa.
And there's a bunch of other weird shit on him. I have a whole document on him.
I never came across him out there. Never saw him. Wouldn't know what he looks like.
Well, from what I can tell, he kept himself covered up pretty well. Like, he was wearing a face mask in a lot of the pictures I saw that people sent to me. And when I showed that picture where he's wearing, you know, everybody was wearing those face masks out there. So it's kind of like it was a thing people were doing. It's not that weird. But
Yeah, it was cold as fuck.
yeah, it's North Dakota. But anyway, when I showed it to Russell, he's like, yeah, I think that was the guy that we saw that was there. So he still recognized him because of his body shape and everything.
Did Josh share all the weird shit we discovered and talked about today?
I don't think so. He told me he talked to you briefly, but I've been trying to stop whoever is trying to bail Kathleen out of jail from getting their hands on her.
Yeah. Which is a priority thing to do, I guess.
Yeah, I was freaking out because they also knew that Willie was leaving for vacation. These 2 people from the Water Protector Legal Collective and Freshet, they knew that Willie was leaving on vacation today and he wouldn't be back until the 4th of July, and they conveniently converged all of this shit to be done today.
Well, these guys are professionals, even though they're sloppy about some stuff.
Yeah. They definitely concocted a plan, but I caught them over the weekend and I confronted them and it freaked them out. But they still wanted to go through with their plan. Kathleen, somebody had given her a name of some guy named Kale. And
Never met anyone by that name.
me neither. It could be a fake name too, or it could be an alias, you know? Who the fuck do we know? But anyway, she had called the lawyer at the office and said, this person is my friend and they're going to be my signatory, so you can go ahead and bail me out. And I was like, no. And then I called her son. I'm like, Russell, call your mother and ask her how she knows this Kale person. Who the fuck is he? Where is she going to go to? And she didn't even know. She just said it was some name they gave her and she thought it was a safe person. I'm like, no.
Fuck. This shit is crazy.
And who was in Bismarck over the weekend?
I know.
Saying that she was going to get bailed out? How the fuck did he know that?
Yep. I had weirder revelations over the weekend.
Like what?
Okay. Do you remember on Friday in our recorded conversations when that woman Tawani kept calling me?
Yes.
All right. So when I think back to this whole Tawani thing, like, she claimed to be some kind of like Colombian priestess, kind of new agey bullshit. Okay? But in our conversations, like, I think she came by my house 3 or 4 times with her boyfriend / husband, who thought he was Jesus.
Oh, God.
Yeah. But here's the crazy thing. She kept saying she wanted me to talk to some guy named Padre Pio, who channels some dead doctor who knows everything down in Brazil.
Oh, God.
Now, I don't know if you read the Daily Beast, but did you see that crazy fucking story they had on their front page yesterday?
No.
There's some crazy story about exorcisms in the Catholic Church in this weird sect that was cut a deal with Satan, and hold on to your fucking hat. It's the exact 2 names this woman Tawani brought up.
Wow.
So that's either a longer-term fake news story that they're launching to hurt the Pope, because that seems to be the purpose of the article, or to hurt me somehow because this woman was around me.
That's really weird, because you know what you made me think of? I haven't talked about this on my show very much because there's just so much stuff about Mulaney and her husband that I could fill like many hours of shows, but I wanted to get out just the most relevant, important things, damning things about her connections to Kathleen Bennett. However, I did find out they have this weird church, and Arvel Looking Horse is involved in it, and a bunch of these other people are involved in this weird church. Chet Stoneman and Mulaney Stoneman are the heads of this church.
What is this weird church?
It's called the Church of the Native American Church of Christ or something
Never
like
heard.
that. It's out of Porcupine, South Dakota. I saw the paperwork, the registration for the paperwork and everything, so it's totally real. And they have these weird, it's like the way it was described to me by somebody in the know that's been helping me research all this shit is that it's Jesus with peyote. Uh-oh. Call ended. Okay, now
Okay.
I can talk to you.
You got it now?
Yes. Weird.
There's just so much weird shit going on. I'm like too far down the rabbit hole to understand what's happening.
So I was telling you that she had her weird church thing out there at the camps, and Chase Iron Eyes was promoting it, and Arvel Looking Horse and Faith Spotted Eagle, they're all part of it.
That means Red Wolf Pope is probably part of it because he came out to give me gifts from Arvel's wife, Paula, to bring with me.
You're breaking up.
No, I was saying Red Wolf Pope came by my house about a week before I went to Standing Rock and brought me sage, cedar, and sacred tobacco from some medicine man ghost. But then someone told me that he got it from Paula Arvel's wife.
Weird.
And he's in Hawaii right now, I think, with Arvel, and I think Ed Higgins is headed to Hawaii as well.
And so is Mulaney Stoneman. They're all hanging out together.
Weird as fuck, huh?
Yeah, I'm telling you. They're all together. And Faith Spotted Eagle gave her permission, Mulaney Stoneman, to set up her women's society at the camp. And they're the people that threw out J.R. American Horse. And she was also, according to L'Oreal Blackshaw, Arvel Looking Horse and Faith Spotted Eagle were the ones that ordered the camp to be swept for weapons.
Hello?
Hey, Wes.
Hey.
Okay, that was a false alarm. I listened to the voicemail. It was one of my old clients. It's funny, I was just telling a story about him the other day because it was one of the first cases I worked on. We sued the Fargo Police Department.
Wow. This stuff is just too fucking crazy.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, do you know what I think? I think there's going to be a major terrorist attack on Wednesday the 21st.
Really?
Yeah.
Do you have any idea where?
Nope. Well, I mean, I think it'll be in either Flint or on the pipeline.
Oh,
But
God.
who knows? It could be something else. The reason is, there's this, because Josh and I spend hours every day talking about everybody's Facebook connections
Yeah.
and their messaging. And there's this guy that follows me and always likes everything I post named David Django Han.
Okay.
Jangho, last name Han.
Okay.
So David Django Han is always posting, like, these weird things like, we think we're all caught up in whatever, but we're in his story. And when his story happens, whatever happens, we'll all be living, not like history, but like his story, like Christ.
Mm-hmm.
And he has all these people the time of Megatron on these things. They're all pictures with, like, from him posting the shit from January on to now.
Mm-hmm.
The Transformers movie opens on the 21st of June. That's also the day Jake Uger gets back from Turkey.
Oh,
It's
God.
also the day Naomi Klein is in LA. It's also the summer solstice for Odin worshippers.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And there is some weird Odin thing going on with all those people at the Wolf's Den.
Yeah. I hadn't heard of the Odin connection to the Wolves Den.
Well, it's called the Wolf's Den, and I know that you're Jennifer
Say that again.
Eagle Place.
Say that name of the woman again. Jennifer what?
Jennifer Spalding.
Okay.
She goes by Jen Spalding on Facebook.
Yep.
She was the OIC for Eagle Butte, which was the staging area for Standing Rock.
Mm-hmm.
Remember I told you she had like 6 months to live and she'd just gotten out of chemo and she was in a wheelchair and heart device. Well, she's in Michigan now, and one of her friends is someone called Odin's Outcasts.
Oh.
And they travel all over the country with no means of support.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
Yeah. But maybe I'm fucking wrong. Maybe I've just written too many fucking movies and it's just the way I think, sense out of things that don't make sense.
Well, I don't know if you're right about the terrorist attack or not until June 21st gets here, but
No, that's true.
you're not wrong about these people being shady motherfuckers.
There's a lot of shade going around all these. Hell of a lot.
Mm-hmm. And for people that claim to be water protectors and activists, they have what they're actually doing, how they're actually affecting the movements, what they're actually involved in, clearly points to something else.
But hey, the other reason these calls may be dropping is I am in Los Angeles rush hour traffic.
Oh.
So it's possible. It's possible there's just not enough bandwidth.
Okay.
See what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So
if you're traveling, it's always shitty.
Yeah.
I understand.
So.
Well, if we can't have a complete conversation now, when you get to a location that has Wi-Fi, you can certainly feel free to call me back and we can have a normal conversation like people.
Okay. Okay, it'll probably be tomorrow.
That's fine.
Just because I've got to go to some event downtown tonight, and then, I'm not going to be driving home till like 10:30 by the time I get home.
That's fine.
My wife will be asleep and stuff, so.
That's cool. Totally cool.
All right.
And
let's touch base again tomorrow when we know more stuff.
yeah, I'd like that. I would like to find out what you're seeing, because you have made so many connections for me just in the last 24 hours. And I don't know, it seems like every time I talk to you, a whole bunch of shit shakes loose,
Well, yeah, because you've been digging on this forever, but I'm just telling you exactly what happened to me and exactly what people have said to me. So it's like, you've been studying all these people, and I didn't know any people's names, most of them. I just know what they look like, and I watch everybody. Because they're tagging me all the time and shit.
But you're confirming a lot of the things that I needed confirmation on, and as I am realizing this stuff, I'm watching these people react. It's almost like they know we're talking. Well, they must know we're talking. They know we're talking, and they are reacting in real time to our conversations and the new information that I have.
Yeah. Although I'd be amazed if they actually can't hear our signal conversations. Like, either your studio's been bugged, my car might have been bugged, my phone. I mean, I'm sure it has all kinds of fucking malware on it.
I'm sure.
I'm just sure.
Me too, because there's been too many coincidences of things that have happened where, like, we stopped leaving our house for 4 months during the time that things were really hot and heavy, because there were so many strangers showing up at my house.
Yeah.
And so, like, my husband went to the store once, and we were being all, like, like how you were maneuvering in the road, like taking turns where you would normally not take turns.
Yeah.
Acting like you're going to stop at a red light and then going through it and seeing if they follow you. Signaling to turn in one direction and then going straight, And
Totally.
We caught them following him. And then he went this weird way to the to the grocery store, and some guy in a fucking truck motioned over to my husband. He just caught it out of the corner of his eye, and he didn't give him any direct eye contact, and started walking into the store. And the guy jumped out of his truck and started screaming at him, "Hey, you, sir, sir, sir!" And he just kept going, and he walked all the way to the store and ignored the guy. And he drove up to him in this really weird way. Like, my husband parked his car, and this truck drove up to my husband's vehicle kind of at an angle and did not properly park before he stopped his car and jumped out. So it was like really fucking weird. So then he went into the store because he was all freaked out. He didn't actually buy anything. He just waited, looked outside, and he saw that the truck had left. So he went back to his car and started to come back home. He took a different route, and about a block away before he got here, there was the truck following him again. So there's just too many crazy fucking things that have happened to us for me not to think that they've bugged the car, they're looking for my vehicle when I'm driving in it, they probably got some kind of tracker so that when the car leaves the house, they know exactly where it is.
That's probably true this time.
You must have had somebody watching out for you at all times, because what you did was pretty fucking incredible, that you got out of there without being killed.
Oh, listen, that was me being totally alert and aware. Let me tell you, I was out there and I was like, I didn't trust fucking anyone. I mean, on one hand, I trusted everyone,
right? But
on the other, I was fucking careful.
Yeah.
I was really fucking careful the whole time I was there.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't let anyone entrap me in shit, and they were trying like hell. It was scary.
They still are. They still are. If they can see, you are one of the only people, and because of who you are, people listen to what you have to say. And the fact that...
Not many. I mean, I seldom get more than 5,000 or 6,000 hits on anything I'm on.
Oh, poor you. It's terrible.
Well, I'm just saying, not a lot of people listen to me.
That's not true, Wes. What people do hear what you have to say because of who you are. And you have credited this story, my station, Kathleen Bennett, with being real. By your testimony of what you witnessed. And so in order to discredit me and Kathleen Bennett, they kind of have to assassinate your character.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sure that'll happen tomorrow in the Intercept article.
Oh, God. Really? You think so?
Well, it comes out tomorrow, and I spoke to the Intercept reporter for maybe 10 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Sedef said she and Chris spoke to the Intercept reporter for like 2 hours.
What? They interviewed them?
Yeah.
Well, guess what? Guess what? This girl Z, the producer for Jordan Sheridan, told me.
What?
She said that because she was saying, you know, like, I'm not going to be insulted by you, some kind of thing like that, was because I was asking her questions about why her reporter was doing a hit job on Kathleen Bennett.
Mm-hmm.
And she essentially told me that I had no right to talk to her like that. And I said, really? We know there were paramilitary contractors that were paying for propaganda. It's right there in the Intercept documents. I'm sure you've heard of them. And she says, of course I've heard of them. One of our reporters at TYT works at the Intercept, and she wrote the article.
What? Is that the girl from Minnesota?
Are you listening to what I just said, though? They have a person that is in cahoots with all these fuckers that wrote the article for the Intercept. Let me go back.
Whoa. Get the fuck out of town.
We covered the story at TYT. I am highly aware one of our journalists at TYT also works at the Intercept and broke that story.
No, there's no one at TYT that was involved in that story.
Then she's lying because she works with Jordan Sheridan. She's his producer.
I will tell you, of the 3 names that were listed on the article that came out Memorial Day, not one of those people has anything to do with TYT.
Not one of those things. Are you sure?
Fucking positive.
Okay, I'm just telling you that this fucking woman is saying that one of the reporters from TYT, who also works at Intercept, was the one that broke that story. It doesn't mean they wrote it.
There is no TYT reporter that also works at the Intercept. The TYT reporters are Jordan, Emma Biglin, whatever her fucking name is, Michael Tracy, and like that's it. Like there's no real actual reporters at TYT other than those people. And none of them work at the Intercept, and none of them broke that story.
So what's your best guess as to why she would make that up?
Because pathological liar.
I think she's trying to credentialize them, because I said, look, I know that there were PMCs involved in Kathleen Bennett's story, so I'm not being paranoid here when I see in the Intercept documents that the mouthpiece for Morton County that's listed in the documents, Rob Port, was one of the people that they were putting their propaganda out on, and also that Medicines for Progress, another Tiger Swan paid organization, was putting out this specific story of Kathleen Bennett in their propaganda. Both of those places that were in the Intercept articles that were hired for by Tiger Swan, or that put information out there for Morton County, carried the story of Kathleen Bennett, and they carried it in a negative light. So they were using it for the very tool that Tiger Swan, got them to do, which is propaganda against water protectors, to smear Standing Rock and to smear the people that were out there. And I said, I have every right to be concerned about you doing the same thing. And she said that they covered the story. They're highly aware.
Nope. And I will tell you that Anna Kasparian didn't talk to any of them. Because when I talked to her yesterday, she was freaked the fuck out that they were suddenly wanting to do the story.
Who wanted to do the story suddenly that she hadn't talked to? In The Intercept, or Jordan told her?
Kathleen Bennett's. No, because Josh told me Jordan and Z is Jordan's producer.
Right.
So said that he suddenly wanted to do the Kathleen Bennett story after they'd all come to LA and met with Anna Kasparian.
Really?
See what I'm saying?
Yeah, because you know what? She brought Jordan Sheridan into this conversation. When we started saying, you sound like propaganda. What Chelsea is doing sounds like this propaganda. And, for fuck's sake, they had a Muppet on their Kathleen Bennett live stream. A literal fucking Sesame Street fucking Muppet, okay? This is a story about a woman who was nearly fucking killed, and another one who sits in jail, has been for 5 months. And you're going to use a puppet to talk about this?
Weird as fuck.
And then she's arguing with me. I wasn't being rude or anything. I said, we have clear evidence that several news outlets, platforms, both hired by PMCs or working in tandem with them, have used Kathleen's story as propaganda. I am keeping my eyes open for others who do the same. Chelsea is dangerously close to performing that role right now for Truth Against the Machine. The lead investigator in Kathleen's case turns up in the Tiger Swan leaks. And she goes, okay, but that doesn't mean that what Chelsea is doing is propaganda. And then I said, again, I have conclusive exculpatory evidence. I told her I had exculpatory evidence that the charges against Kathleen are absolutely false. And she says, let me look where I said that. Okay. She said she will contact you. I'm not Chelsea, but I'm blah blah.
Well, all I know is I wouldn't trust them.
No. Well, she also said that, I said, why wouldn't this person who claims to want to know information about Kathleen Bennett's case not call the lead investigator on the case? And she's like, she just got this information 5 minutes ago. I'm like, the bitch was watching my show last week. Chelsea Lyons was watching my show last week. So she doesn't just know about this today. And then Josh says, I gave her the information for Cindy's contact yesterday. And she says, I'm not sure why her trying to help spread this story and ask for information is a problem unless she is stating incorrect information. That was at the end of her video. And then I said, spreading misinformation is not helping. We have facts and have proven conclusively that Kathleen Bennett is not guilty of any of the things she was accused of by Morton County. And then she responds, has that been concluded by a judge? Hey there.
You hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, it could be because traffic just opened up and I was driving really fast.
That's okay. But did you hear what I said that she asked? She asked me, has that been concluded by a judge? That was her response to me saying, we have proven conclusively with evidence that the accusations against Kathleen Bennett could not have happened. Her response is, has that been concluded by a judge?
That's a typical right-wing troll response.
Morton County
cannot help themselves.
I know. And then I said, so are you saying that exculpatory evidence that we gathered even from her accusers that she's innocent of abusing her mother on December 6th are not valid unless a judge has ruled her to be innocent?
Hey, so just to let you know, I'm being followed by a Ford with Utah plates with 4 or 5 guys in it that all could be contractors.
Okay. Can you get a peek at the plates?
Oh, no, they're getting too close to me. They're probably listening to everything I say.
Mm-hmm.
Don't know anything, dudes. I don't know anything. I got no proof of anything.
Well, to me, that's a big tip-off.
It's the mystery.
To me, this is a big tip-off when somebody that's supposedly in the liberal media, like Truth Against the Machine, seriously, their fucking name, it's in the name. Truth Against the Machine. And you're going to ask whether or not somebody is guilty until proven innocent?
Yeah.
That's fucked up.
Totally fucked up.
So I nailed her on that one because I was like, why are you having somebody investigate a story that already has conclusive evidence that you could...
Okay. I think it's 586, like 23D or 230. I can't tell. It's a Utah plate. It's a red, white, and blue plate. It's on the front of a black Ford SUV.
Those SUVs freak me out.
Yeah, me too.
There's 5 guys in it?
Yep, and they all like have that like contractor look. We've watched too many fucking movies about contractors. Because they're all like, you have to understand, all these people are living in a movie, right?
Right.
I mean, that's what this is all about for them personally. They're like James Bond.
Right.
Or Triple X or whatever fucking movie thing they're gonna do.
Yeah, I know.
So.
But they're B-list actors. They're shitty actors.
Yeah, generally. Okay, now it's passing me.
Good. Now you can get a good look at their plates.
Nope, actually, nope. It totally disappeared from my... Oh, now it's 2 cars back.
Oh.
They moved over the right lane. They moved back into 5 minutes. Here they come again, coming up on my right. They have some kind of device stuck to the windshield. Probably not. Nope, now they've sped up. E563ED.
Cool.
E563ED, Utah plates, and it was a Ford SUV.
Got it.
So they just turned off. Because I'm sure they can hear everything I'm saying. Oh.
Well, that was very interesting. She lied about that.
Yeah.
She tried to
She didn't lie about that.
She tried to credentialize their network or herself as having an in on the Intercept thing.
Nope.
That kind of scared me when she said that. I'm like, oh great, the Intercept
Well,
is.
listen. The Intercept article will, if they talk about Standing Rock, in December, and me, it's gonna.
Don't you think that it's strange? Are you still there? Or did I lose you again? Okay, keep going. The Intercept?
It'll basically be saying I'm a religious fanatic and I'm crazy and I think I'm Enoch and all this other shit.
Right.
Because that's what I told to the people I knew were infiltrators because I was fucking terrified. I figured if they thought I was crazy, they'd leave me the fuck. But also because there's some part of me that thinks maybe I am Enoch.
Yeah, but you weren't wrong about the shit that you said about the people that were there.
No, listen, I've told you the truth and everything as I've seen it.
And you know what else? They didn't do that. They said they were going to be releasing new information, I think 2 weeks ago now, and they haven't done the next drop. Why?
Well, I think because they wanted to run down the stories from about me being crazy.
Well, can I just tell you something? I think it's really sketchy that Sadef and this Chris person talked to them for 2 hours, and they also interviewed Chase Iron Eyes.
Yep.
Because they're being fed a bunch of horse shit.
I know.
And fucking Sadef is completely intertwined with Michael Wood Jr.
No, she's intertwined with all these people.
Right. But
She said she called me today and said she's coming back to LA next week.
Yeah, but I will remind you, they're the people that hired and put into place L'Oreal Blackshaw and Bill Runningfisher.
Oh, hey, listen, I know that.
They're directly responsible for what happened to Kathleen Bennett.
That's true. And he's got, I think over $400,000 in cash. That's why I'm not 100% sure about Sedef, because she gave me all of Mike Wood's financial shenanigans on the veteran stand.
Yeah, but she might just be doing that because she wants to stay on your good side.
Burn him now?
No, I don't think they decided to burn him. I think she just wants to stay on your good side, and they've damaged your reputation enough that unless you got the hard goods on that and leak it to somebody or tell someone about it so that it gets out there. I mean, you've told me, I haven't said that to anybody because I don't have any hard documents, but if you gave them to me, I would fucking put it out there. Mm-hmm. And then she might not be so happy she told you that shit, Let's see what happens if the stuff that you start telling if she told you stuff simply to appease you, but didn't expect that you were going to leak it to anybody, and you did. I wonder if she'd be as friendly to you anymore.
No, I told her I was giving it, because I gave it to Anna Kasparian. Mm-hmm. And she said, you can give Anna the documents.
So she...
look, it's possible Sedef is getting used in this too. I don't know.
No, I don't believe that, Wes, because she lied. When she talked to me, she didn't give me anything. And she told Josh and Ren that she paid off Bill Runningfisher $15,000 because he came to her casino hotel room with 2 thugs and threatened her. Mm-hmm. And she told my investigator, who was out at the camp, when she and Aubrey Peckham were hanging out together. Aubrey Peckham is tight as tight is with Fassig, with Marcus, with Ed Higgins, with all those fuckers. And she told my investigator that they were still paying off a car that L'Oreal Blackshaw wrecked out there at the camp, that she drove into a boat and totaled. And that they're still cleaning up her mess, and they were trying to make amends to the people that Bill Runningfisher and L'Oreal and the people that were with their crew hurt. And so she said, call her. I mean, she's talking like, she would probably help Kathleen. And when I called her, it was like she was on a fishing expedition with me to see how much information I had. She didn't help at all. And then she told me to talk to this lawyer from, I can't think of the name of the legal organization, the ACLU, that might be able to help, that said she would help Kathleen. That's how she worded it. And I was like, oh, cool, right? And so I get on the phone with this lawyer, and she's like, what do you want? And I'm like, oh, fuck, I thought you knew about what I'm going to talk to you about and that you wanted to help Kathleen. I didn't know that this was like a cold call for you. And she says, well, have you made a report to the FBI? Have you done this? Like all these 101 things that don't really help at all. So she really wasn't giving me any help or offering anything more than that. So I started getting upset, and I was like, it just felt like she was fishing on behalf of Sedef, actually. And when I realized that, I got pissed off, and I said, well, I hope that if the people that are responsible for hurting this family are not brought to justice now, if anything happens to Kathleen or her mother, that they are sued by people later on. I hope that they're able to raise the money for that. Because I said, this woman is laying in a hospital, and she is literally on her deathbed. And I said, and you know who put her there? And you know who put Kathleen in that jail cell? The agents of Veterans Stand for Standing Rock. And this lawyer goes, not anymore, they're not. And I said, they're not what anymore? Agents of the Veterans Stand for Standing Rock, or dangers to society? Because they're still out there at Standing Rock right now, Sedef just told me that she ran into Bill Runningfisher at the casino. And I also sent her evidence of the fact that L'Oreal is using her Facebook page to request people send her their credit card information so she can rent rooms for water protectors.
Oh, she's a straight up grifter.
Yeah. And then the lady on the phone got all silent and was like, don't want to talk to you anymore. And that was the end of the fucking call. So I don't believe that. I don't believe that Sedef is an innocent that doesn't know. Also, and you may not know this, but Maggie contacted Sedef and told her in an email, hey, there's a lot of evidence in this Kathleen Bennett case that points to the liability of Stand for Standing Rock in hurting this family directly. I think it would be a good show of good faith on your part to help with her legal defense so that, this woman can be set free. And Sedef basically turned around and bit her head off. She was really pissed off at the insinuation that they would have to do anything to correct the record on Kathleen Bennett. She was defensive and angry. And that is not the way that she presented herself to me. She was practically doing a mea culpa when on the phone with me. But when she was communicating with Maggie, she brought out the claws, like, don't fucking threaten me, bitch,
Wow. Well, that's also a bit of her personality as well.
Yeah, but we're talking about an innocent woman. Does she have the kind of personality?
No. That's true. Here's the thing. The reason I have such a hard time believing I mean, I've known her since June.
Yeah.
I mean, do you think they would have planned this thing all the way back in June?
Oh, last year?
Yeah.
Fuck yes.
June of 2015?
Oh.
I'm sorry. No. I'm sorry. 16.
Of 2016? Hell yes.
Yeah.
Even earlier than that. A lot earlier than that. They planned this since April, Wes.
Since April 2016?
Yeah.
Holy fuck.
This has been planned probably even before that because there are records that show in the Standing Rock Sioux Tribes Council minutes that they had set aside $25,000 to pay Phyllis Young to be the person that was the Dakota Access Pipeline. What's it called? They gave her a title, some kind of title that they gave her, a liaison for the Dakota Access Pipeline, or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
$25,000 that they paid her to do that work, way before the camps even started.
Whoa.
There's definitely evidence of the fact that they were planning some shit, and it's really hard for me to believe that this wasn't all planned from the very beginning when the first people that got arrested in all of this are Chase Iron Eyes and Dave Archambault. I mean, Chase Iron Eyes' wife, Sarah Jumping Eagle, and Dave Archambault and Dana Yellowfat. And I also saw that Winnea Locke and LaDonna Brave Bull Allard were the first ones that were calling people to go out to the camps. And Winnea Locke is connected to Joy Brunn with the Indigenous Environmental Network, and she's connected to the people that were running the Medic and Healer Council, where you have several witnesses against Kathleen, and then they're all together in the Washington Women's March after the camp's closures in December. And Mulaney's there, and Vanessa Red Bull is there, and Winnea Locke is there, and LaDonna is out there, and fucking Christina Hollenbeck is hanging out with all of them.
Wow.
All these fucking people that turned state's evidence on Kathleen are all hanging out together in Washington, D.C. celebrating afterwards.
They tried to get me to go that, and I was like, no.
And Nurse Dee Banerjee, who was fucking Michael Fassig, and telling us that he'd put her pictures on a revenge porn site and all this other shit about him lying to people, getting money from people that he'd already gotten money from before, and saying that he never received the money, all this shady shit. She's still helping him.
Is this Mocha? Yes, I'm here for the event at 7. Okay. Sorry, I'm giving them my car. I'm sure to install things in.
Here's my car.
Here's my car. Start fucking with me. Hey, how are you?
Hey, go ahead, sir.
It's going. How are you doing?
Be better, okay? Go ahead and send him with the right there.
Son, I have the worst car driving up to this thing. Everybody's got like Bentleys and Mercedes. Fucked up like Hyundai Elantra. Hey, I'm Wes Clark Jr. I'm here for the thing tonight. Can I stay? I'm gonna have a cigarette before I go in. Thanks. So this is that same group that I met with quite literally the day before I left for Standing Rock.
Oh, yeah?
These are many of the same people who were up there in Montecito at that event.
Holy shit.
Yeah. So, you know.
Who else is going to be there? Is Monape going to be there? Are the headsmen going to be there?
No. No one like that. These are all really fucking like. Trust me, I'm going to be the poorest, worst dressed person at this thing. So believe me, Monape will not be here.
Oh, Monape's family is wealthy, and a lot of these motherfuckers are super wealthy. Mulaney's mom recently was given a job by the governor in some elderly, blah, 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 tribal position. Mulaney's dad, or her, not her biological dad, but her stepdad, I guess the person that raised her, is, he's part of the, not the 3 affiliated tribes, what was it? Oh, the Turtle Mountain Chippewa, something having to do with their food pantry or something like that. And he's a Trump-supporting drill baby drill guy. Yet his daughter is out there leading this peace and prayer movement with Faith Spotted Eagle. And
my dad keeps trying to get into the oil business and failing, but you know, I was out there too.
Fair point, but my concern with this is not that. It's that she has misrepresented herself from the beginning as being out there from day one at the camp, photo ops, and she lives in fucking oil country in Williston, okay? So she's really not that way. She raised nearly $20,000 to get a vehicle to help people evacuate from the camp, and she was driving around and seen by multiple witnesses at the closure of the camps using that vehicle to steal property, not to evacuate humans.
Whoa.
Yeah, they reported that she stole a trailer full of solar panels, a yurt, and several generators. I mean, we're talking about over $10,000 here.
Fuck. Yeah, for sure.
So,
whoa.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that these folks have a good earning. They have good money. A lot of them have become millionaires. Look at Tex Hall.
Who's Tex Hall?
He is a former tribal chairman of the 3 affiliated tribes. And there was an expose on him in the New York Times and exposing how he was involved in a murder because they killed Casey Clark on his property.
I don't know who that is.
Well, the guy's dead now. It's crazy out there.
Never get near the Dakotas ever again.
Oh no, God. Are you done?
Way.
Are you done with this area?
I'm fucking done. I'm done with pipeline protests. I'm done with fucking all that shit. This stuff it's too crazy.
But it's real, Wes.
I know.
And the people that live,
what's most disturbing about all of it.
The people that are out here they don't get to look away. And we don't have anything, we can't do anything. And people always tell me, why don't you move away from there? Why do you live there? I'm like, because some people can't leave where they're from.
That's a good point.
And, like, what are we supposed to do? Just pretend that our lives aren't getting fucked with every day? We have no choice but to fight back, somehow. Defend ourselves. That's all I'm trying to do.
Well, I'm guessing we're going to learn a whole lot more by this time tomorrow when that article comes out.
Yeah, I can't wait.
I'm willing to put money on it. The crux of the article is going to be crazy Wes Clark.
God damn it. I hope that's not true.
No, trust me, it'll be true. Because they need to massively discredit, especially because I've talked to the FBI and I've talked to members of Congress and everything else. So they need to make me, like, radioactive, practically.
Well, if they do a hit piece on you, I'm definitely going to fight back.
Well, I appreciate that. But
I may be a tiny voice out in the middle of nowhere, but I'm still a voice.
No, I think you're fucking convincing as hell because I simply know I told you the truth. And you're the only person that believed me. Frankly, you're the only person that ever tried to get in touch with me to talk about it.
Wow.
Everyone else wanted like a 2-sentence soundbite. See you later.
Yeah, that's how people do disservice to these kinds of stories.
And then when I talked about it on Young Turks, they cut everything I said about Tiger Swan from the interview.
What?
Oh, you don't know that?
No.
That interview I gave that night when I got home.
Yeah.
Like on I think it was the night of the 8th or the 9th, I was on their after show. And I spoke for like an hour and a half, and the interview was only an hour, and they cut out all of the Tiger Swan stuff.
Who was the host?
Jank.
Jank?
Jank.
And who else
Jank
was there? Was Anna there?
Yeah, she was at the table, but Anna's just like a pundit, anchor woman. She doesn't do any of the business stuff or any of that.
Got it.
She doesn't make any of those calls.
Right, but now in retrospect, seeing that they cut that part out, what do you think about why they did that?
Well, I think they did it for the same reason. Do you remember when I told you about the sting I did with the identity thief?
Yeah.
Okay. For the same reason, I'm sure it was potential liability. And they're afraid to get sued.
I have to tell you that sounds like a really bullshit excuse. On both counts. I mean, because I have a legal background, and first of all, there was this thing that existed long ago. I don't know if you know about it. It was called the Fairness Doctrine. And even though it didn't really stop people from being biased in their reporting, it at least it gave some, foundation for journalists to try to get all sides and, do a thorough job of investigative reporting.
Yeah.
That shit doesn't exist anymore, okay?
That's true.
And in order to be sued for libel and slander, it is very fucking hard to prove. Let me prove my point to you. Can you name a single case of libel and slander, prominent or non-prominent, that you can remember?
The Carol Burnett thing with the Inquirer.
Did she sue them for libel and slander?
I think so, yeah, and she won. And
Wow.
it cost them a fortune. That's why when the whole John Edwards, remember John Edwards and fucking Love Baby?
Yes.
The Love Child?
Yep.
Okay. That's why the Inquirer at the time was reporting it. Everyone's like, no, dude, trust me, they would report it unless it's real because they got their asses sued off for Carol Burnett a couple years earlier. I mean, it's since been bought by a Trump supporter, so
Right.
not quite as true as it used to be.
But let me just tell you that was a long fucking time ago, Wes. If it were true, okay, if it were true, because you've seen it every fucking day, they put out propaganda and lies on all of the networks. Every single fucking one of them.
I gotta say, after living this thing, I don't know how much I believe of anything I've ever read or
Exactly, right?
in the last. I mean, to the point that the story they put out was me abandoning soldiers and taking off with the money in a blizzard.
Yeah.
And the real story was, they kept saying I was about to be murdered every 2 hours and kept telling me to get the fuck out of there before I was murdered. And then when I left, they had the story ready to go.
Yep. And they made you to be non-credible by saying you were crazy or drugged.
Yeah. And the other possibility on Young Turks cutting it is that Michael Wood called and said Wes was crazy.
But still, it doesn't matter. Michael Wood calling and saying Wes was crazy. You have him come on and say you're crazy. You don't cut out the piece of the interview. Mm-hmm. That's why I don't edit shit. I have to edit out cuss words, but I play the whole thing so people can hear. I'm not taking anything out of context. This is what was said.
Yeah.
Why would anybody... That's fucking weird, Wes. That makes me feel really uncomfortable.
No, it makes me uncomfortable now that I think about it, and now that the whole, Cenk went to Turkey thing on Thursday.
This makes me feel really fucking uncomfortable, Wes. I'm sorry. I'm just like, what the fuck did you just say? What the fuck? They fucking knew this whole fucking time and they kept it secret. What the fuck is wrong? And you know what? When you see the shit that's going on, motherfucking Cenk, he put this thing out there on Twitter saying Wes was right. Wes was right? Why wouldn't you say, oh my God, Wes fucking told us this 5 months ago and we cut it out of his interview and here's the part of the interview that we didn't show you. They didn't throw away the footage, did they?
Probably not.
Why the fuck wouldn't they say that? It's been weeks since those Intercept articles came out and Cenk posted that you were right. Literally, weeks.
Yeah.
Why aren't you furious about this? I'm furious for you. Why are you not furious?
Because I'm getting fucked over from so many angles simultaneously right now that my getting angry...
Are you afraid you're going to lose friends?
Oh, no, not at all, because they're not my actual friends.
I don't even care about losing real friends. If somebody did that shit to me, I'd be like, you piece of shit motherfucker. That's what I would say to them. Why did you do that to me? You helped to discredit me, motherfucker. If you had played this 5 months ago, maybe people wouldn't be treating me like I'm a fucking crazy person.
Not only did they discredit me, they made a ton of money off Standing Rock.
I know.
Like every media group, all the media, that frankly is what pisses me off the most. Is all these people out there, oh, Wes is stealing the money, he's trying to get money. I did nothing but lose money when I was there. I made nothing. Every single reporter there made more money than I did going to Standing Rock. All of them, even the fucking internet reporters.
Wow.
I made nothing. And Young Turks probably raised like hundreds of thousands of dollars off that whole thing.
I bet they raised a lot more than that, Wes. Don't kid yourself.
Man.
They're still working with Michael Wood Jr. They're still raising money. Sadef was out there around December and January raising money again. And so was the Veterans Respond Group with Aubrey Peckham and Ed Higgins. The Veterans Respond people raised tens of thousands of dollars, and I know Sadef raised over $1 million in her return trip.
What? She said they raised $250,000.
I heard them saying that they had raised. Who told me that they raised over $1 million already? Maybe it was Josh.
I don't know. I just remember it was like 1.3 million in early December, and then they raised an additional $250,000, like with the fall of Ochetti.
Man, I don't know.
But all I know is that's like $1.5 million fucking dollars, and there's like at least $500,000 left over, and that didn't go to water protectors. It didn't go to medical bills for people. It didn't go to all the.
They nearly killed an elder woman, and they've put an innocent woman in jail. And a woman from the Midwest, a professor's wife, okay? Literally, a geologist's wife, gave us her savings to fix up her house in order to get Kathleen a lawyer. And these motherfucking people have raised hundreds of thousands of dollars, over $1 million that we know of, and they hurt people. Kathleen wasn't their only victim. Mary wasn't their only victim. They've literally ripped families apart and hurt people. That's disgusting to me. And the fact that TYT helped them do it makes me feel sick. I don't know how they can sleep at night.
Now I'm more.
Think about what this did to your marriage. Think about what this did to your mind.
And my kids and my mind in the last, really year of my life, since they've obviously been working on me. If you say they started it last April, and Sadef came into my life as a friend of the family, like strong as shit, in like end of May, early June. Or maybe it was early June to mid-June.
Yeah. Well, that shit was already planned by then.
Oh, I just can't fucking trust anybody I met after May.
I don't know what to tell you to do about your personal choices in life and who you talk to and whether or not you want to trust people again or trust people from then, or I can't really tell you. You have to make decisions about all of those things because only you is you. Only Wesley knows what Wesley needs. But I can tell you that Sadef is not innocent, and neither is TYT. Neither is Cenk. I can't believe that they would cut out that very salient part of your interview, which served to discredit you.
The only reason I know they cut it out is because they posted the interview on YouTube, and some guy that's always commenting on your radio show, Dan Zevrugel or something like that.
Yeah.
Dan was like, "Oh my God, you cut out the Tiger Swan stuff. You cut out the Tiger Swan stuff. How could you cut out the Tiger Swan stuff?" Like he was posting all that back in January.
That's disgusting to me. How did he know that they had cut it out? Did they play it on the
Well, because there was a live broadcast when I first got back.
Oh.
After the show, and then when they posted it, that part of it was missing.
But only the people that saw the live stream got to hear it.
That's right. And I guess Daniel was one of them.
Well, at least that there are witnesses that it was in there originally.
Oh yeah, no, for sure. For sure.
Maybe you didn't take much note of it and what it was meant to do or how they undermined you, but that shit pisses me off right now today. That is really like, man, I don't even know how you can trust anything associated with them. I think they're tainted now.
I can't.
I can't trust that they're gonna handle things properly because there's too much evidence of the fact that they've bungled things over and over again. Yeah. With regard to Standing Rock, and if this is how they operate on Standing Rock stories that I've seen, what are they doing in other stories?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Although I gotta say, I've never gotten any editorial direction from them ever. But then again, there's no actual reporting. It's just talking about story or Drudge Report. There's no actual reporting.
I see. Yeah, sort of, but not really, because when you call yourself a news platform and you sit around talking about things, you're not just talking about your opinion about the thing, you're giving different points as if they were fact. You're talking and saying things as if they were part of the reporting, and you're talking from a platform that you claim to be news. That's misrepresentation. Bye. Have a good time at your meeting. So his call dropped off once again at the end there.
Yeah.
And then he had to go into his meeting, so he didn't call me back. And I think that he called me back maybe another time that day, or maybe the next day, because I have another call from him like the following day, for sure, that I know of. So, yeah, I mean, and it may be hard for people to understand what they just heard because it was from a year ago, right?
Yep.
And I've been doing so many interviews. I mean, I literally probably have hundreds of phone calls that I've done in the last 2 years on the Standing Rock thing. And I haven't even aired all of those interviews because, you know, the news keeps happening. Things kept happening. And I had to keep reporting on the most important of the new news as things were going on in the Kathleen Bennett case.
You know, and for me, it's like this Nora Maccabee, you know, the more you brought her up, the more Wes has brought her up, and the more we found out about her is like, I can't believe a person of that caliber and had done that much work in environmental issues and activism and filming wouldn't have even given you a call or an email or some inquiry if she was told about the Kathleen Bennett case.
Right.
You know, so his, you know, there she is at his patio, you know, sitting there with him, you know, and
Or Rokana.
or any of those people, it's just
Tulsi
like
Gabbard.
one that he just buried it and didn't tell people. You know,
And he claims that he told.
He claims that he did, but then those people should have just done some inquiry or some, because at that time she was still in jail. At that time was before she was bailed out, or was being close when she's being bailed out. There was, there was a court case coming, and it just amazes me that people of that caliber, that sort of influence, those sorts of connections in the issues that they supposedly are connecting to Standing Rock, wouldn't have done something.
Well, I do plan on trying to find out if those members of Congress were really told what he claims he told them and why they didn't do anything. And I also want to know how come they were associating themselves, especially Tulsi Gabbard, with Evan Duke and all of these people associated with the Veterans Stand for Standing Rock, even after our news of the Kathleen Bennett story and the final conclusion of that, where we found that she was completely innocent and all of her charges were dropped.
Yep, exacto.
Why Tulsi Gabbard and none of these people have publicly denounced or distanced themselves from the Veterans Stand for Standing Rock debacle, because that's what it turned into.
Exactly.
They took the money and they ran, and Wesley Clark was very much involved, and so was his dad, even after they left Standing Rock. And he abandoned thousands of veterans there. That's what he did. And he helped put Kathleen Bennett in jail, and he knew all the people that participated in it. And they had a story when they went out there. Wes told me about it right away. All of the people that were in this group were telling the same story. They found an old woman, and she had been raped. They found an old woman, and she had been raped. They found an old woman, and she had been raped. They found an old woman, and she had been raped. And everyone said that story. First time they sent her to IHS, they came to her to check and see if she had been raped. The second time, when Bill Running Fisher claims that he found Mary naked and covered in her excrement and urine when she was actually at the casino with Kathleen Bennett, safe and sound the entire time, they also made the claim that there was a call to go and check on a woman that had been sexually assaulted, that had been raped. On the final day, On December 17th, the people that I talked to, including Joseph George, whose interview I still haven't played, but I will, said they were called to that tarpy because of a rape. There was no evidence anywhere of any kind of rape. And when she went to the hospital and they turned over guardianship to this kidnapper, Mulaney, with the help of Christina Hollenbeck of Nexus, they had a nurse from that hospital, a friend of the family of the guy that brought the gun into the camp, Kyle Thompson, a friend of Kyle Thompson's family who went to the funeral of Kyle Thompson's sister, Mary Kay Renz, say that Mary told her in a moment of candid talk that her family had raped her in an empty church in Nevada.
Hung her from her neck.
They just kept drumming that story in, and it was one of the first things that Wes said to me, and it was in the last call that I shared with you, where he says that when he got to camp, Chris Turley, that veteran, and also Von Bo Lodge told him that they found an elderly woman that had been sexually assaulted. They found her on the side of the road with her diapers around her ankles. So they had always intended for there to be this woman that they rescued. Because, see, that's what they're all doing now, right? Isn't that what Mulaney's doing now? Faith Spotted Eagle, all these people. They're out there rescuing women. They're holding their hand out going, we're rescuing people. We're going to get involved in the kids in the cages when they're the ones that put a person behind bars, an innocent person behind bars. And we want money to go and rescue women that are missing when they're the ones that put an elderly woman in an early grave. So we should trust them right now. That's what they want. It's disgusting, but that is what Wes participated in. That is what the general participated in. And that is what all of these people at Standing Rock participated in and then tried to cover up. Going so far as to attack this reporter, this station, and our entire family. And he was a part of it. And the whole time, while I thought he was really trying to work on getting Kathleen Bennett free and reporting what happened out at Standing Rock, even to him as a victim, he was just probably lying to me about going to the police and going to the FBI and talking to these Congress members. I don't doubt that he talked to Nora Maccabee. There's plenty of evidence that he and Sean Stone and all these people were in the planning phases of what they went out did at Standing Rock and what they continue to be working on today. But I think that all of those people that stayed silent, Duke, it wasn't because people of that caliber wouldn't reach out to me if they had been contacted. It's probably because they were in on it too.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Because, I mean, how else do you explain that all of these people that were following closely what happened to the vets at Standing Rock and that continue to be involved in Standing Rock? As I showed you with this MIT thing and James Martinez, how is it that none of those people have ever addressed what the Veterans Stand for Standing Rock's Bill Runningfisher and L'Oreal Blackshaw did on the day that they worked with Christina Hollenbeck to kidnap an elder woman and put her in an early grave and put another innocent woman in jail for 6 months? They should have addressed that by now, but they won't, and they haven't because they're all still out there criming. So, that's it for tonight's show. I've showed you all those DC influencers. I hope that you come back and join us for our next installment where I will be sharing more and exposing more about who and what Wes and the Veterans Stand for Standing Rock is connected to. Thanks for being with the Mexican Crossing Lines with Cindy Gomez-Schempp
and Duke Gomez-Schempp
here on 88.1 FM KPPPLP Fargo Moorhead, where we are adding local color to your airwaves. Keep it tuned.